Ooh.
Oh,
Sorry, everybody. I was screwing up the microphone.
screw up.
Uh,
No Jared today?
I don't think he'll come in. Maybe he'll pop in from his vacation, but he is in the Bear Lakes. He said,
Doxed.
dang it, I did just dox him.
Doxed
Well, I
at the
did
Bear
want
Lake.
to dox him. I wanted everybody email him at bearlake@bearlake.com. Go tell him, go hunt him down at one of those raspberry milkshake shops.
Have a few.
When's the last time you had a Bear Lake raspberry milkshake?
I actually don't know that I've ever been to Bear Lake. I don't think I have.
You never been to the lake?
I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah, that is pretty sad. It's a famous lake.
It is very famous, and it's the only like thing around here that kind of feels like a beach for sure, like a real beach with like big waves and stuff. But Salt Lake doesn't have big waves, right?
I guess I've never been there when it's real windy. I don't think it can. Yeah, because most of it's pretty shallow.
Mm.
It's a very shallow lake.
I used to go to Bear Lake once every summer for a week with my family, and I never had the raspberry shakes because I hated fruit and shakes. That's just how I am.
You hate fruit and shakes?
I don't like fruit in any dessert.
That's weird.
That's a texture thing. I don't eat fruit and dessert, man. That's why I was just on my Facebook bitching about carrot cake.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Carrot cake is good.
No, it isn't. It's terrible.
I mean, bad cake is bad cake, but good carrot cake is good cake.
No. I want one time to cut into something that looks like a carrot cake with the carrot decorations and everything and have it be yellow cake and everybody else there be disappointed that it's not carrot cake. It won't be happy unless everybody else, like I won't be happy unless they're all disappointed too. Like, but I want it to be decorated like some Bugs Bunny carrot cake. And then I cut in and it's just yellow cake in there. I'm like, yeah, and they're all, yeah. So they can experience what it's like to have a raisin in a thing that you were very excited for, and there's suddenly a raisin in the thing.
That is a thing I don't understand because, like, I like oatmeal cookies, and like when my mom was a kid,
they're so good.
When I was a kid, my mom would make chocolate chip oatmeal cookies, and those were the greatest things ever.
Mm-hmm.
But like for some reason, there's like a law of the universe that if you make an oatmeal cookie, put fucking raisins in it.
It's my mom. My mom likes the raisins and oatmeal cookies.
Yeah, like, and I don't mind raisins generally. Like
I like raisins plain. I like raisins and craisins in savory stuff. Like I like it in curry and stuff like that. But do not like it in the desserts. Same with pineapple. I like it in savory stuff, not in dessert stuff. But I don't like mushy textures. I don't like it. I hate it. Hate it. And if I could create my own form of Christian nationalism, I would grab the ring. I would grab the ring and I would force the world to stop putting fruit in desserts. Like, I mean, we're all hoping for a utopia, right? And
see, I don't mind. Like, there's other things like those Ritter Sport chocolates from Germany.
Like, what are those German chocolates and those cherry chocolates?
Well, it's just like they're square chocolates. They're like chocolate bars. They come in perfect squares.
Oh, yes.
And they come in many flavors. And the very best flavor of them all is the Rumtraubennuss, which is rum-flavored chocolate with raisins and hazelnuts.
I haven't tried that one. I tried a lot of the hazelnut ones, but not that one. And I don't want to try it. Does it have raisin texture?
Yeah. Well, again, like, I don't know why. Like, raisins in cookies, no. Like, raisins in bread, no. Raisins in chocolate, fine.
I'm fine. Yeah, I can do like chocolate raisins, whatever those. What are those called?
And there was that bakestress that we knew, know, and she would make really good English scones with currants, and like there was something she did magically that she baked them just so the texture of them was just perfect. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, raisins are a weird thing. Like,
no, it's not
in some things, but not good in other things.
I want to create something that like questions these categories that we have of like what is a raisin. I want to create queer fruit theory And people are going to think I'm talking about the other queer fruits. Speaking of which, it's Queer Fruit Month, everybody. Go get your raisins. And we start wondering like what the category, like, because I need to have like in law where I can cut off what can and cannot have a raisin in it. And it's going to be just as arbitrary as, LDS coffee laws, you know what I mean? LDS caffeine laws. Like it's got to be arbitrary. And I just have to rule it and lay the law down on the people, and they just have to understand. And every once in a while we'll try to give an explanation, but you'll realize the explanation is bunk if you think a little bit too hard about it. I'm like, that's just how it is. Like, why don't you get this? Everybody knows where a raisin goes. You know where a raisin goes. You know where it goes, and that's what the law is.
Get with the program.
Get with the program. This is how it's done around here. That's how we do law. Sweet lordy, what is going on with the world right now?
Yeah, today the whole world went crazy with crazy Trump Musk stuff.
Yeah.
Like part of me is like, okay, this is the most entertaining thing that's ever happened.
But then I also feel like kayfabe. It feels like wrestling kayfabe.
Yeah, it really does. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping it is just for the sake of the nation, because like that'd be fun. Like, oh, you got us. Good job, guys.
I would guess it was if it didn't go to the Epstein stuff, and then I was like, oh,
yeah,
not anymore. But I don't know. Some people are saying that's 40 chess to get the Democrats to start calling for the Epstein list now. I don't know about that, but it's one of those things because Trump's sued a bunch of people for claiming he was a rapist and won those lawsuits. But the way Elon said it is like he could say, well, what I said is materially true, not factually true, just the sense of we already know that Trump has met and been on an Epstein flight log before. It's just it wasn't going to the island. And so it's already materially true what he said.
It was going to a children's hospital?
It was just inter inside the country from one place to another. I think it was a couple different times. I remember looking at it all back in the day. And then there was also some different testimony from some of the gals who said they had met Trump when they were with Epstein at his house. And they said, no, he didn't. The lady who just committed suicide like a month or so ago, that lady said Trump had never flirted with her and had never said anything to her. And people had attributed some comment like Epstein's a lucky man or something like that to him. And then she denied that and said, no, he never said that either. He never did anything like that. But that was that lady who got suicided about a month ago. So, But I don't know. A lot of people are saying it's super weird with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino suddenly being all iffy on if they're gonna leave it or not. And I don't know, man.
It's so weird. It's too much weirdness.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knew that they were going to sooner or later kind of start fighting, but just like within like a week after he left the White House, just straight going for the jugulars everywhere. Some people are saying it's because Elon is mad that he's getting all the subsidies cut out from that big, beautiful bill. But then others are just saying like, no, it's just principled that big, beautiful bill is going to take us over the ledge and there's not enough cuts in it. But a bunch of people, Stephen Miller, Crowder, and a bunch of people went into detail about this isn't the bill where you would cut the Doge stuff or continue to cut it. That's some other bill. It wouldn't even happen in this bill. And so like, what are they even talking about? The only thing this bill does that's really kind of fiscally spooky says it raises the debt ceiling. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's already set up to have more in it, but it raises the ceiling so it could have more.
Yeah. I mean,
and it will.
Yeah. Congress has never not taken that and been like, okay,
yeah,
we're going to max this out. Like, it's like raising the credit limit on people with bad monetary.
Yep. But then, of course, like a bunch of people like over on that end of stuff who are still super defending Trump and the big, beautiful bill are saying stuff like it funds all of the deportations. If you want to have more deportations, you have to have it. Crap like that. And it funds helping slash Medicaid fraud. I don't know how that works, but that's their claims. One of the things with all that is I just don't think that any of the money anywhere over there goes to what anybody actually says it goes to, little bits and pieces of it, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's still too early with that whole one, but it's blowing up the world right now, and everybody's talking about that instead of talking about the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 this morning. That
9-0.
9-0
coming?
that reverse racism was and always was, and I always knew this because it is my profession to know this, against the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And I don't know if you remember, Flip, you and I one time went to the Utah State adjuster, and some idiot there didn't understand that. Like the adjuster there at the Utah thing didn't understand the rule.
I'm glad that you were there to witness it, because it's one of those things that, like, if I didn't have a witness, I know that nobody would believe me, because I had a retaliation complaint against my employer because they totally retaliated against me because I was a whistleblower. Mm-hmm. And you were there. That guy straight to my face said, "We care about women, have to be a minority. Gay. That's what we do. Women and gay, and what else? Like, he literally gave us a list. Minority.
You have to be minority.
Like, women, gay, and racial minority.
And I was there as an SPHR and a specialist in human resources, telling them, no, that is not how it goes. This the protected class is the class of race. Like, you can't make a decision based off of somebody's race or some sort of issue like that. But you are also there just for a specific separate thing that was just retaliation. It was retaliation, which is illegal. You can't retaliate against people for making a claim against somebody for something. But it's a whistleblowing thing. But the guy didn't even know. But speaking of that, just this week, I think I was telling you, I was with some guy at my work who wanted to get on the company insurance, but he had Affordable Care Act insurance. And I told him, if you come, now that you are offered insurance from us, you will lose your subsidies from the Affordable Care Act insurance. And he said, well, I don't know that I get any subsidies from the Affordable Care Act insurance. I think I just pay the full price. And I said, well, let's call them and find out, because he was just trying to decide, should I stand that or not? Maybe I already paying full price and I just like it and it wouldn't cut into it. So we called the dude at the Affordable Care Act, the adjuster who was there, and we told him, I, as the employer, offer a qualified insurance. So that means he would not be qualified to receive Affordable Care Act subsidies now, because I'm offering him this. And he wants to know, is he receiving any of those subsidies, or is he already paying full price? And the guy said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I said, what do you mean, what am I talking about? This is the act, stupid. This is the whole entire thing. I offer, as the employer, affordable care, and now he's not eligible for the Affordable Care Act subsidies. This is the bill. This is the thing that you are there as an adjuster for. And it's like, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this. And I'm like, what, are you kidding me? And we were talking, I even have the guy who was there with me. And I was like, are you kidding me that this is, and that's how they go, is because people just call up those places and say, do you have affordable care? Do you have affordable care? And that's a technical question in the sense of, does your employer offer something that's qualified? And if they do, you don't get subsidies. But if you just call them and say, hey, is your care affordable? No, I don't have affordable care. Okay, here's your subsidies. And then 2-3 years later, they say, oh, you just got a bunch of subsidies you weren't eligible for. And then they try to charge it to the company. And the company says, no, we offered the qualified thing. And they say, oh, whoop-a-doo. And then they just eat the $40,000 or whatever it is. And that's how they got away with just giving the people who are willing to lie or be stupid, free stuff. I think technically they're supposed to go after them and make them pay for it, but I don't think that they ever do. But the guy's supposed to be able to tell him that you don't qualify for this. That's the basic part of that whole bill. And the adjuster at the Affordable Care Act still doesn't know what the dumb bill is. But that was the same thing with other. Anyway, 9-0 this morning, that reverse racism was always a part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. No even need for the reverse. If you're making a decision based off of the class of race, whether it's white or black, you are making a race-based decision, and that is illegal and always was illegal since 1964. It's just nobody's ever really done that for 60 years.
So, like, but all whatchamacallit, affirmative action has to be out now, right? Does that fall under this? Isn't that the idea?
That came in 1965, especially when it came, and then with later Dukes versus Duke, was it Duke Griggs versus Duke Power?
David Duke? Oh.
No, but that was just like a last name I wish, but no, I was kidding. No, but it was just like a later precedent-setting case that said if you have any sort of outside, like you run a test, like if your organization has, you run a test in Utah and it's 5% black, and you run a test in Utah that's the percentage, and then your organization, you run it and it's 0%, it's got to be within 4/5 of that. And then right in there, what it means is like if they can prove that your organization doesn't match those percentages, they can say you're systemically racism. So that's how they put kind of systemic racism, disparate impact in the law. And then a bunch of people saying that just needs to be overturned. That's something that Christopher Roof has been on. But there was an act 1 year later that Trump has already abolished with the EEOC, but one of those 700 judges said he couldn't do it. And so it's waiting to be taken up to the Supreme Court. You know how they have all those judges who are just constantly, if he orders pizza, one of those judges calls up and knocks it down or something like that. 1965, but it was just for government contracts, and that government contracts thing said you must have a certain amount of diversity for your government contract to be able to get a thing. So you must have this some percentage of diversity for that. And that when Trump went and knocked that down with the EEOC, you saw all these lefties freak out about it, like Trump is sticking down the Civil Rights Act. The way they lie about stuff is so outrageous. So that one might be coming up too in the Supreme Court, and they're going to rule on it. And that one was always a horse crap anyway, because it was a race-based decision. But they just go read the book, Age of Entitlement by Christopher Caldwell. I suggest it highly because it gets into heavy detail about how all this stuff has been gamed, and you wish it wasn't gamed, but then it also just, it doesn't, it's one of the arguments for what's written in the books isn't what's followed. So what's it matter? Like blue states aren't going to honor this anyway. You know what I mean? Unless you sue somebody and take it up to the Supreme Court, but what are you going to do? 9-0 though. Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote the thing about it. So I do think, have you been celebrating the gay? It's the gay.
Yeah, it's the super gay times.
Do you celebrate? I think that's what Trump and Elon are doing. They're doing the gay right now. That's what.
Oh, they're having a gay fight.
Honoring the gay week. Yeah, or month. The whole month. I forget it's a month. You want to know what I miss? You want to know what I remember? Remember Bull Dykes?
Yeah,
I miss them. They're pretty cool.
Bull Dyke Bar. I don't know if we have one anymore.
I don't think Bull Dykes exist anymore. They're all trans now. They're men. Yeah. They're not Bull Dykes anymore.
I think they might have gone into hiding, or they're like all just in the country riding horses.
Well, I saw some of those TERFs complain about this, that there's no such thing as a bull dyke anymore. They all just say they're trans. So
just today I watched the D-Yikes episode of South Park. That's pretty classic.
What did they say about, what was that one?
It's the one where Mr. Garrison, or Mrs. Garrison, it's while he's trans, and Mrs. Garrison, it just starts out with him complaining because he goes on a date, and then when he finds out that he's trans, the date doesn't want to date him anymore. So he decides that he's gay, He goes to the lesbian bar and hooks up with a chick, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a lesbian now." And that's the one that has like, the where you can hire Mexicans to do anything. The boys pay the braceros to write essays for them.
Yeah.
And then Mrs. Garrison has them dress up as Persians, which I love that joke, because like you can't tell Mexicans and Persians apart if they just, depending on how they dress.
No.
Like, yeah, like
do you think you could
a middle class Iranian woman and a upper class Mexican woman are indistinguishable in the United States?
Do you think you could get Indians to pass for Mexicans? I don't think you can. I think you can tell an Indian.
Not Indians. No, but Mexicans and
Some of
Persians,
them.
sure. Anyway, I gotta go grab a beer real quick, so you have to monologue.
Starbase Co-op says, this is my joke, so no one steal it, but I found out recently that queer is just non-denominational gay. Queer is, I actually think it's an added political category to just being gay, and I do not think all gay people are or should go with the concept of queer. Who's queer or not? Well, queer is a verb, right? That's the thing. I remember we got that wrong when we were in kindergarten and we played Smear the Queer. We'd run around the football, and the one person with the football is the person who is the queer, and it was used as a noun. Queer is just queering. It is queering categories. So, can you be queer and a heterosexual? Yeah, I mean, because all sorts of people. John DeLynne's daughter says she's part of the queer community because she's asexual or sapiosexual, which is just attracted to people's minds. And so if you're just attracted to people's minds, you could be part of the queer community. There's all sorts of different stuff like that. So they tried to come up with whatever little thing to call that. Nine Bear, I think, not trans. Oh man. So the Pride Month, did you see a whole lot of Pride Month? I mean, it does seem like the Pride Month stuff is way down.
The city government and all the sports teams in Utah.
Yeah, I was up in
Park all the
City.
sports teams are super gay.
I was up in Park City, and I felt like I was in a different country just for the sense of like, there's this flag every 10 feet that I guess is that's the whatever flag, but that's all I really saw of that. But I don't really see like a ton of the corporate stuff, the gay. Do you? Have you seen all that? I mean, I noticed that they said that like a bunch, like on Steam, like a bunch of the video games, said they weren't doing it this year and they weren't going to be doing it, and Target didn't do it and stuff like that.
Yeah, like because I know there's like I saw like a lot of conservative media was like people are over it, it's over, and I'm like maybe I think it's kind of a wash because like I think there's a lot of people who are just quietly sidestepping it, but then there's just a bunch of other people doubling down. But also about sapiosexual, what's the counterpart? What is it called when you're only attracted to really stupid people? Does it have a name?
Dudes.
Oh, that's right.
No, women are smart. They're girl bosses and always smart. Although tons of gals are smart.
Yeah, like at least 5.
Yeah, that's tons. Because they're all 400 pounders. No, just kidding. Neanderosexual. Man, I don't have my PowerPoint up. We got to get that going because I was such a screwball at the start. Anyway, man, what other stuff we're going to talk about? I mean, just get right back in the Maven stuff, but there feels like there's a million things, and that Trump thing, that thing's so big, and at the same time, the kayfabe.
I'm gonna do no nonsense spirituality.
Oh yeah,
posted like Kate, because I made my name a joke after her. Because when she said she's a nihilism coach, that's real. That wasn't satire.
No, that's real.
Like
she says that in her TikTok videos.
I genuinely would have thought that was a Portlandia sketch that they go see a nihilism coach. Like that is the most retarded fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. And like for the most part, I don't think she's as bad as a lot of the Exmo scene. Like her take on Jordan Peterson, like for the most part, I think it's fair. Some of the stuff I might quibble with. But like I think she's kind of got a point for a lot of it. But yeah, and then I saw, I'm a nihilism coach. Like, Jesus Christ, get a real job.
Yeah, but she's getting noticed by Dwight Schrute and by Lincoln Rhett and John Vervaeke had her on, which I haven't watched that video yet. Which I haven't watched John Vervaeke in quite a while.
there's some things that like are negative impressive to me, and at this point, saying you got a doctorate in divinity from Harvard Divinity, like I'm negative impressed.
I don't think she
Like,
has that. Oh, but
I
yeah,
thought
I'm negative impressed with that. Did she say that?
I thought she did.
No,
Maybe
she
she was
said she's
talking
a
about somebody
scholar.
else.
I don't think she said where from. And I don't
I
know
don't
what she
know,
means by scholar. I don't know that it.
but
Ugh,
yeah,
she
I
probably
don't know.
has
That
some.
thing's like, I mean, I had priests, Catholic priests that go get their PhDs from Catholic priest school. Like, I respect them. I know they actually learn stuff. I mean, for one thing, they learn fucking Latin, which is like a real thing. But like anybody that I've seen that went to just state school divinity or whatever, I swear to God that they're dumber than before they went in. I know that's like that's an old like Dennis Prager cliche, but I'm really starting to feel like going to college makes you dumber. Like unless you go into the STEM fields and learn real things.
Yeah, the humanities area pretty much does just that. I'm gonna see if I can try to pull a switcheroo here because I'm here in Microsoft Edge and I meant to be using Google Chrome. I don't think I can. Ah, dang it. Okay. Here's her page, but I've got to pull it up. Britt, I guess I'm using Microsoft Edge all night tonight. Britt Hartley. Her page says she's a religious trauma and deconstruction coach.
That's not a thing.
What it is too, it says right here. If it says it on the website, it says it on the website.
Retarded is what that is.
Well, here it is. How did that open? What? Oh man, Microsoft Edge sucks. It's just showing me like the original tab on the thing. View and go into this thing, you dumbass thing.
It's a skull with angel wings. That's
yeah. There's that, and then so right there,
and then
religious trauma and deconstruction coach, certified spiritual director, master's degree in theology.
Applied theology. What the hell is applied theology? Like, what are you?
When you apply it?
But like she's. I mean, because like one thing, like
listen, it comes after the comma. When you apply it to Gen Z and the future of American religion.
Like, if you're an atheist with a theology degree, isn't that like being an ex-Scientologist that's got, you've got your Scientology certifications, but you don't believe in that anymore, so it's basically worthless?
Yeah.
Doctorate degree in open and relational theology. It's mumbo jumbo.
Let me show you a clip. I actually saved this clip before I saw her pop on and kind of mouth off on the Latter-day Lobsters.
Wait, an ordained Sufi? She's a Sufi?
Sufi, isn't that Muslim?
It's Muslim mysticism. What?
But she's an atheist, though.
None of this makes any fucking sense.
What? How dare you?
Maybe she's just one of the whirling dervishes.
Let me show you. I actually saved this clip before I saw her pop on in Latter-day Lobsters. Let me see if I can find it. Here you go. Share this tab instead. Oh, I get it. Okay. In this internet, the colors of the buttons are just different, so that's why I was getting messed up. Okay.
Neil Brennan, the self-reported
You hearing that?
Yeah.
smug atheist, now believes in God. And if your first thought was psychedelics, ding, 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 you are right. Neil Brennan has struggled with depression for a long time, which opened up, curiosity in psychedelics. He's done ayahuasca and DMT, MDMA, mushrooms, and it really helped his depression, but then something else started happening.
I've done all those things lots of times. I mean, no, I haven't.
In one of his trips, he described something like a creative force that is good and peaceful, and to him it's like the most true thing that he's ever experienced. And this is very common. Even
I experienced my brain on drugs.
For me, it was like the third most true thing I've ever experienced.
What was 1 and 2? Like bucket of kittens and alcohol.
Yeah, bucket of kittens and single malt scotch. I mean,
common even for atheists. So 2/3 of atheists who do psychedelics, they don't go back to the God of theism. They don't go back to Bible and Christianity and heavens and hells. Like there's no evidence of that happening. But they will kind of be open to things like collective consciousness or God permeating the universe or things like that. So the
where
word
is she
that he
getting
uses
this
to
number that
describe this new
2/3? Like, is that I kind of don't buy that.
What'd she
Maybe
say?
that 2/3 of atheists that do drugs end up being semi-theistic.
Oh, there's probably some Pew number or some
I think
sort of
she
thing.
asked 3 people, and 2 of them were like, "Yeah, kind of."
new God that he
That happened to me the first time I did mushrooms, and what I said to myself was, I believe that people believe, but it
Yeah.
didn't mean that I like, oh, if people are feeling this or getting somewhere around this, I get that they believe something. And that was me empathizing with them, but not saying that I was feeling like I got there because of a drug.
now fully believes in is that it's a spirit force, a creative force, and a thing that's running this. And he feels like that thing is good. He doesn't know if like that benevolence means that it's morally good, because of course, like there's still so much suffering to wrestle with. But he found some kind of profound peace in connection to that force. Now calls himself a spiritual person and doesn't believe that pure materialism describes the fullness of human experience. If you're wondering, I'm mostly on board with this. There's a couple things I really like about this. One, it's experience related, which is
Does anybody say materialism explains the fullness of existence? I don't think that that's a thing. I don't think that's.
Do they kind of say it like if they're just saying that I don't think there's anything beyond the material?
I mean,
It doesn't explain all the unknown, but
like I've just never heard
but you
anybody
do.
that's like, well, I don't believe in anything supernatural, but I think but I've got an explanation for everything. Like Hitchens, Dawkins, like they all say, like, oh no, like we experience the numinous or whatever they call it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like she's having a conversation with people I've never met.
Related, which is what we get from mysticism, which I'm a huge fan of just experiencing what it is that people have called God without putting truth claims and religions around it. Love all that. He also is very skeptical of institutions. He rejects like that there's magic books or hierarchy or authority. He's still rejecting all the BS when it comes to organized religion. And then he's also doing this with a lot of spiritual humility and even intellectual humility. He's not making any big truth claims that this is the metaphysics of the universe. He's just saying, I've experienced this, and I'm okay with that. But the problem that we're running up against is that when only religion...
That's applied theology, right? Wow.
has words to describe this or has frameworks for this to keep it healthy, then it leaves us secular people wondering, what words do we use here? Is this appropriate to use the word God? And then when we start using the word God, we're going to bring in all of this unnecessary religious baggage. So I'm super happy for him. He's been very nihilistic, very depressed, very suicidal, and he's now really thriving in his spirituality. He's more grounded, he's more at peace, he's more connected, his relationships are better, he's happier, and I'm super happy for him. And it's also revealing this concern that I have that we haven't developed enough frameworks in the secular world to be able to support this. So there's no ethic or daily practice or community or values scaffold or ways to integrate these experiences or ways to integrate them with science. And because of that, we sometimes find ourselves going back to religious language just because we haven't developed that on the secular side. And that's something that I want to continue to voice and be a part of. Because without some of those frameworks in place, this kind of open to mystery thinking very easily turns into like new age magical thinking or religious thinking. It's like a very slippery slope that happens often.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope, but hiring a nihilism coach is not.
Troy says he digs her. We brought it up here a whole bunch of different times for lots of different little things, but generally, whenever I'm talking about the people who get into the happy nihilism and that whole little Neil deGrasse Tyson thing of we are all stardust, and an exploding star is where it comes from, and it's where we'll go. And I just kind of ridicule the concept of when you go up in flames, that it's becoming Tinkerbell. That's not Tinkerbell that's going up in flames. And I hate to kind of dump on like the happy nihilism, but I kind of pull that from Paul Vanderklay. If you remember, I used to pull up the video where he talked about that. What was that movie, that TV series about the vampires on the island? But the whole entire thing has this kind of a nihilistic view that ends with them burning up because they sacrificed themselves for the island, for the vampires. And as they sacrifice themselves, they're like, oh, I see the future. Like they're having like a mushroom trip experience. And I just go, he's just on fire. You know, he's just on fire.
I don't know what show you're talking about though. What?
It's what's that guy who did Bly Manor and
I don't know, I'm lost.
Hill House?
Never watched any of those.
Hill House. Oh, you got to watch those. Those are good. Those are good series.
I know
Mike Flanagan. He also did the follow up to The Shining, which was a pretty good version. The Doctor Sleep. It has Ewan McGregor as the adult kid from The Shining, and it's a pretty good sequel to The Shining. I'd say it really is. Mike Flanagan. He's a really good director.
I feel like I just got beamed down to earth because like this is all news to me. Everything you're saying, I have no reference.
You have not heard of The Haunting at Hill House?
I know wait.
There's an old one. Midnight Mass is what I'm talking about here.
Jeez, I don't know. Like it maybe rings a bell, but
The Haunting at Hill House is really good. It's a series. So Mike Flanagan on Netflix, he does maybe once every year, like a whole single series. It's kind of the same series, but it's not. It's 10 episodes, and it's some sort of haunted mystery. 10 episodes on Netflix once a year. The Haunted at Hill House is a really good story. It's like just a really good. I would watch it if you dig these sorts of ideas and that sort of thing. But Blind Manor is really good. The year 2 is really good. Then year 3 is okay, but this one is Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass is this one about vampires on an island. But I pulled it up forever ago on here. I couldn't tell you which episode, and I pulled it up more than once, where Paul Vanderklay kind of talks about them sacrificing themselves to save this town from vampires. But the whole thing has kind of like a taking a stab at Catholicism thing, because we're going to be happy nihilists or whatever. And the whole deal is like, yeah, but you're just on fire. You know, you're not turning into Tinkerbell. You're just on fire. You know, and that's I brought that up a bunch of times. Like whenever I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about Britt Hartley, who wants to turn, you know, I've read some Camus, so we can get into absurdism. That means we. I'll be happy. I'll beat my nihilism. You know, like, okay, you did it. You read some Camus. Thanks, life coach. You know, but I don't know. Let's pull up what she said on the. I don't know, because the thing is, like, I don't have an answer for this stuff too. I think just the general answer is you have to, just how you were wording it last week, like you have to have something to aim at and aim up at and aim for, and sort of deal, not be all up in your head constantly about, well, I guess we're just fading to black or some sort of thing like that. And usually a family and viewing some sort of kid in the creation of life. Scott Adams was saying just this week that he feels that almost all positivity is based around being involved in some aspect of the creation or continuance of life, and that's where all self-esteem comes from. And I think he was generally right about that sort of concept.
Does he have kids?
He does not have like his own kid, and he's going to be dying this year, but he does have stepkids, and he did have that stepkid die from fentanyl, and that's why he wanted to wage war against China.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. Anyway, so she was on John Vervaeke this week. John Vervaeke had her on. I did not watch it. I hardly ever watch Vervaeke anymore. I find him rather dull, although I think he's interesting. But Vervaeke really, really, really goes into depth about Platonism and Neoplatonism from an atheistic point of view. But
he's the guy that we watched with Marty.
Yeah, and we started watching I was going to do a whole episode because he wanted to do like a 20-part
bored.
series of how to bring. Oh man, I keep getting into stuff on the. Here,
What is, like, I just all these people like Vervaeke, Britt Hartley. I think we always talking about these, like they're trying to create the church of not church.
Yes,
And
yes,
like,
that's exactly what I'm
knock it
joking and
off.
goofing on, and sort of
Like,
joke.
like
Just
church
go
already
back
exists.
to just go back
to church.
Be a Latter-day Lobster. Go back to church and kind of make it work or something like that. But I mean, I guess or stop trying to make our atheism a church, please.
It just reminds me like Douglas Adams. Always said that, like, for the longest time, his goal in life was to be John Cleese and then he realized the job was taken.
I remember you said that about Jeff Tweedy from Wilco one time.
Oh yeah, no, it's like, because I've said it about Stephen Malcolm. It's like when I was a teenager, I was like, when I grew up, I want to be Stephen Malcolm. It's like, wait, no, Stephen Malcolm has that job. Like,
see, you're just saying it. Look at the title of the John Vervaeke episode: "Sacredness After Deconstruction." Broken person.
I'm so tired of that fucking word.
Let's complain about it one more time in depth. No, I'm just kidding. But I guess that's one of her coach things. She says she's Britt, if you ever listen to this and you don't, and I saw that she answered so she popped up on Latter-day Lobsters, kind of coming in hot, and then I snarked back at her, and I haven't even taken the time to read what she answered back to it. But
she answered me, and I was mildly snarky.
What'd she say to you?
Said two things. I made two things. One of them was because like her title of the thing was
Jordan Peterson Rage or something.
The hidden rage of Jordan Peterson. So I said, nice Kafka trap, and she responded like, that wasn't me. I don't title him. My guy does that. I'm like, your guy?
This is a guy.
It's like, yeah, like my guy does that, and I'm like, well, it's your fucking channel. Because she's like, it's like, how like when a publisher doesn't pick the title of their book, I'm like, yeah, because authors don't own the publishing company. You own your channel, But and also I made fun of her for using the term dude bro. Like, it's like, don't throw your dude bro under the bus. Because that's the other thing. Like she says, like,
oh, that's what I told her. I told her.
I mean, I guess I just pull it up. I'm playing fucking Skyrim.
Well, here's her
the way,
post.
like, because she literally just says, like, like, I'm not doing the technical stuff. I've got a guy for that. I'm like, well, don't throw your guy under the bus, but also like technical stuff, like naming your fucking episodes with your fucking face and words on it. But anyway.
So I've watched a lot of her TikToks. I've seen all of her Mormon Stories episodes with John DeLune. I've seen not all, but most of her. She had a running series of, what do they call it with Bill Reel? They called it like some sort of deconstruction or reconstruction idea or something like that. He ran a series with her for like a year, and then she quit that or retired from that to move on to do TikTok full time. Anyway, I guess Alejandro from the Latter-day Lobsters had seen her in there, or had seen her on Vervaeke, just following Vervaeke, and popped up and said, "Who's this? Who on earth is this?" And I said, "Yeah, I know who that is. I follow all her stuff, and I've commented on all her stuff, and she's never commented back. But it's usually because I'm snarking at her for, as I said to her here, she asserts patriarchy in a low resolution way. That's usually the thing I'm commenting about, because she always says, and patriarchy is what did it. It's just, you can just kind of assert that in wherever, because of patriarchy. And other than that, I would call her Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
she's Jordan Peterson who declares her atheism. She's all into Jung. She's all into.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing that because the other comment I made, because somebody was like, "Who is this chick?" And I said, her channel title is oxymoronic, and she replied to that with like, "Well, sometimes the truth is in the paradox," to which I said, "Okay, Jordan Peterson." And he said, "Nice." And I was like, "Is it nice?" And she's like, "I'm saying that your retort is nice." I'm like, "Oh, all right." Like,
Well, that's just it. I think she can hang. And so one of the things I said to her in there is, Hey, Britt, you know how you pop up on Mormon Stories and you tell people to slow their roll on polyamory? We were kicked out of Mormon Stories for saying stuff like that several years ago, but I appreciate that you're there trying to do it, along with other little bits of nonsense like patriarchy and all that sorts of deal. Anyway, she says, since someone else brought up a post talking about me, I'll briefly introduce myself before getting kicked out of this group.
Like, where does that's just projection?
She doesn't know what the group's like, but
because that's the other thing that this gets me thinking about is, as far as I can tell, it's all the leftist people and left-leaning groups that are ban happy.
Yeah, they've only ever banned Jacob Hansen out of that group.
Yeah,
and I think some of that's just getting back at him for being ban happy in his group.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, he is the exception. His group is the exception for being ban happy and not leftist.
But they still allow a whole lot more than typical like leftist page. Like we're so shut down on Mormon Stories for saying so little, you know.
Oh yeah.
And we've said a lot on here, and maybe John DeLynn finds out about what people say about him elsewhere and spreads bans for that. But what I've actually said on there does not deserve a ban at all.
Oh yeah, no.
What I've actually said on his channel does not deserve a ban at all. I've never said anything.
I got banned for saying we shouldn't be bigoted against Mormons. That's where I caught my ban.
Yeah. I'll briefly introduce myself to this group getting kicked out of Latter-day Lobsters. I'm a Mormon scholar, published a book on Mormon philosophy with Fiona Givens, and previous paid seminary teacher. I lost my faith in theology school in my doctorate program. You gained new faith, Brittany. As we always say here, you did not deconvert, you converted to something new.
Yeah, like I wish that she had lost her faith in theology school, not lost her faith while attending theology school. She should have quit the program and been a nurse. Like that would have been way better.
Like, all this stuff's bunk. I'm gonna go do something handy with the world. I lost my faith in theology school in my doctorate program, and not for lack of trying. I didn't want to lose faith in God, but I did. I now work as a spiritual, so I doubled down into spiritual director stuff.
Yeah.
Now I now work as a spiritual director, helping. What does spiritual mean? Like, what does spiritual mean to an atheist? Like, I honestly don't. Like, do you use spiritual? I do not use the word spiritual, and I probably wouldn't until I had some road to Damascus moment, which maybe will happen to me. But
because I've always, for the longest time, you have the thing when people say like, "Well, I don't eat any food that's bad for me," and your brain just kind of goes like, "Wait,
what are you talking about? I don't know what that means."
Sense. And like, I get the same thing every time somebody says like, "Well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual." What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
I get it too. I get it a whole lot. I am religious and spiritual. I do not get like I'm an atheist and spiritual. Like, I'm a spiritual. I'm a monist who's spiritual. Like that's an A not A thing again. Just like when Kwaku said, "I am a trans men are men, not A is A." I am a spiritual monist. Like, no, like the spirit is a dualism. You know, like what, what? And I guess it just means like when you kind of get all sincere and want to look thoughtful to people. I guess it's a performance. Maybe it's just a performance. I don't know, but yeah. When I was on the Midnight Mormons, I think the second time, and they haven't had me back on since, because I think they were trying to start to work on me to get me, and I just told them, like, I think I'm spiritually autistic, man. Like whatever autism is, I don't know, but like I haven't had like whatever the feeling is you want me to feel, the feel thing. I don't have, like, those things don't happen. Maybe it will one day. I did the drugs, and I said, oh, maybe this is what it is. I get that, but this is drugs. That's what my brain said. You know what I mean? I just said this is drugs. And multiple times said this is drugs, but like I don't get the chills at concerts and stuff like that. Like that doesn't happen to me. I'm usually just like, oh, that guy's playing this guy, and then I hear some really good, well done versions. I'm like, wow, that's amazing that they do. I don't get back chills. It doesn't happen to me. I don't know what people are talking about with that sort of stuff. But
I've gotten chills from concerts. There's been times where I was like, holy shit, this is something else. Radiohead did that to me.
Radiohead was probably as close as I got, but also drugs. I was
Lucinda
on drugs when I
Williams.
was watching it. So what?
Like I only ever saw Lucinda Williams kind of secondhand at a festival show, but her lead guitar player, that guy, that was a moment. But yeah,
Well, I've had amazing musical
wow.
moments. It's just it's not what other people describe to me as like an outer body thing.
Oh yeah, I've never had that. I mean, that thing's like when I was on mushrooms, I had the time when Built to Spill had me physically like I couldn't move from the chair.
I've had all the experiences on drugs, but I just my brain, even when they're happening, say drugs. This is drugs. So I discount those.
Yeah, exactly. No, like that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I knew I was on drugs at the time, and I was like, holy shit, this is insane. What's happening to me because of drugs? Yeah. Like the guitar solo held me down in a chair. It, was pretty nuts. But that's like I just had the thought of like, oh, this is what people are talking about when they have religious.
Yeah, I felt I had an experience where the song was so beautiful, a tear was coming down my eye, and then the gal I was with turned it down, and I felt when she turned it down, the tear went right back up. Like, it's like, what was that? Like you just turned off my tear.
All right, that's over.
But that was drugs, folks. Drugs are a hell of a thing, Joe Rogan. And I get especially kind of frustrated. I'm gonna get Zelp on the Shelf just did an episode this week on Aubrey Marcus. I haven't listened to it yet, but I wanted to hear how they reconcile how he's a bad person for having the polyamory because he's having 2 babies at the same time with 2 different polyamory love women. Aubrey Marcus was the business partner of Joe Rogan to help him create that those brain vitamins. And
I don't know about that, but Joe Rogan made a brain vitamin.
No, he had it was called like nootropics or something like that.
Oh,
and it was like his first thing he was selling on there 15 years ago. Oh. And he had like a separate account, and it's like his first little thing at the beginning was like, buy the brain vitamins. It's me and Aubrey Marcus in this company of nootropics. And so then that guy would come on like a bunch of times, and I think for a while now, Joe's like, I don't want him to come on anymore or stop that. I don't think he does it anymore. Long time ago. But
that's snake oil. That's magic.
Yeah. But he that guy got all druggy, shroomy druggy, ayahuasca-y, and now he's having the polyamory. God told him to have 2 kids, polyamory, love child stuff. And Zelf on the Shelf, who just wrote the big Substack about how Natasha Helfer put John DeLynn in his place. About his doubt about polyamory love. Stupid old John DeLynn, who was doubtful of polyamory love. They wrote a Substack about that. And now just the next week, here they are complaining about Aubrey Marcus doing it because I guess it can't be a right-wing bro dude who does the drugs and has the stupid polyamory ideas, right? I guess that's when it becomes coercion. It's not coincidence if it's, I don't know what. Gosh dang it, I keep going into here and I'm so used to using Chrome. And the problem is I logged into StreamYard in Microsoft Edge. And so it's wanting me to have, I don't even know why I used Microsoft Edge. It was accidental. And I'm so used to using Chrome. But it will only pull stuff up to share if I look for it in Chrome. So I have to get my brain around using the so stupid. Anyway, here it is. God defined throuple, and there they are laughing at it. Just within a week of when she wrote her Substack of what a dipshit John DeLynn was for doubting Natasha Helfer on the polyamory stuff. Right.
So it really is just about, she's an authoritarian. Like, I will decide when it's good and when it's bad.
Yeah.
Like
it's not okay for the dudes from the right-wing podcast or right-wing Joe Rogan right-wing.
And this whole thing is like, because we've talked about it a million times about how, like, how dare Joseph Smith do polyamory? Next week, like, polyamory is actually really good, and Not being polyamorous is shit.
That's what I wanted to say to Bill Real. Is Bill Real had that whole thing like debate me on this, and I say, fine, I'll debate you on it. I'll use Foucault, Dan McClellan, and Taylor Petrie to debate you on it. They're not my positions. I'm going to use their positions on why. Who's to say what's to say? Who's to say what's to say? Anyway, I didn't want to lose faith in God, but I did. I now work as a spiritual director, helping those who deconstruct, not throw the baby out with the bathwater. JP has been somewhat helpful in this, as someone who speaks to hierarchy of values. Existentialism is an antidote to nihilism. Archetype, ritual, awe, beauty, and other things worth holding on to, especially when you deconstruct too far. I was simply curious about
the possibility. It's possible to deconstruct too far.
Well, she's been there kind of in the ex-Mormon space, very lightly starting to tell them to slow their roll on stuff that we got kicked out for telling them 5-6 years ago. Right. Yeah. Like, so she was able to go on Mormon Stories 2 weeks ago or whatever and say, hey, maybe don't do the polyamory the second you deconstruct, unless Natasha Helper helps you. Yeah. Yeah, we got booted for saying stuff like that for years, or we're just completely ostracized out of it. But whatever.
We'll be okay.
Yeah, okayer than ever. I was simply curious about this group, but so far have found it to be a lot of common narratives from the political right, without a lot of depth of understanding of the other side. Though I am not in a cult.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Have you listened to Mormon Stories, Britt? Depth of understanding of the other side.
Dude, that's that's projection there. Like, she unironically uses the term dude bro. Like, you're not the one to talk about this stuff.
And here she is also, like, she's indicting that whole website. She doesn't know anything about, like, all those people on there. They've been talking about all the same crap she talks about for 10-15 years. The only reason it gets shit posty as of late is like because I think that they're all kind of bored of the same old Jordan Peterson subjects, because they did them over and over again for a decade now. It's almost a decade that Peterson's been around. So now it's just kind of like shit posting on the politics of the day, and there's plenty of lefties in there.
I am curious, like, how is it that group stays so good? Because it's very lightly moderated.
It's Alejandro.
Is it? Because, like, he does very little moderation. Because, that's
it's like, Alejandro. It's Alejandro's pretty largely free speech. It's the same.
LDS, well, because, like, LDS uncensored is just garbage. It's just axe grinding trolls.
Yeah, just
on either side.
Political slop. Just political slop posts.
But also just people talking past each other. Like, nobody actually trying to engage, unless I try to engage and I'm accused of changing the subject. Today is I made fun of a guy for blocking people, and his response was to block me. It's like, well, okay, like, there you go.
I was simply curious about this group. So far, have found it to be a lot of common narratives from the political right, without a lot of depth.
Like, it's just a way. She's just a way of dismissing it. Oh, common narratives. Do you have a response to that, or is that you just brushing them aside because you don't like them?
Yeah. From the political right, without a lot of depth of understanding of the other side. Though I am not in the cult of the left, and I choose to live in a conservative area in Idaho with my husband and children. You're a lefty. You're a big time lefty. You're a feminist patriarchy lefty. You gave us all these, like, little speeches about crying to your kids about when Trump got elected. But yeah, you're on the throne of neutrality. Or like, I'm so tired of the phony scholars announcing to us their throne of neutrality.
I mean, like, it's nice of her to acknowledge that there is a too far left, but, like, that's not really helping too much, because for the reasons you just said, she's a patriarchy feminist.
Yeah. And she's I agree with her. She's not, like, full cult on that sort of stuff, but she's not close to the center. A couple areas of ideas, she goes to the center, but
I'll give her credit. There are areas where, like, I have to say, like, okay, that's refreshing to hear. But she's not what she's saying she is.
Here's a video I did about JP's last debate that's hopefully a little deeper than the usual commentary. Fuck you. Right in here on your deepity horse. Here's a deepity video of the thing. I don't know. She doesn't know who she's talking to in that group. I'd be curious what a group like this thinks about it. If not, that's okay. I know I'll be excommunicated from a group like this at some point anyways, but I always try to understand people outside my own echo chamber. But yeah,
you're off to a flying start.
You started from a shit assumption, So hello to all.
Your backhanded dismissal and insult is a great way to start out.
So hello to all, and I hope by introducing myself that there won't be so much instant judgment or dismissal. You've already instantly judged or dismissal just based on the reality that I use JP's work differently than everyone else. As someone,
she has the true interpretation. She is the great interpretizer with her deepeningness.
Yeah. Everyone else is someone who mostly coaches nihilists off the ledge. Hope you enjoy. Are you dumb? Are you dumbfounded? Should we watch the video? I haven't even watched the video yet, but I commented.
I did, and I have to say, I think a lot of her commentary is not crap. I think she makes a few good points. There are some things that, like I said, I could quibble with. I think she overstates the case a little bit.
What is her case?
That Jordan Peterson is totally neurotic, and he's terrified of chaos, which is why he's so emotional about it.
Okay, I'm gonna say here's what I said to her. Brittany Hartley, you're hardly the only atheist here. I would levy the same critique at you from the other direction, and I'm far more familiar with your material than you obviously are of this group. You reach out a lot of material that many are very familiar with here, from Vervaeke to Jung to basically everything Peter covers from, yes, a left-leaning academic discourse. I'm sure you've read your Foucault. You are not floating outside all bias from some chair of ideology-free neutrality. Case in point is how often you toss in low-resolution assertions of patriarchy in your videos. This place has been floating around for a near decade now, has all types, and devolves into some shit posting, but much of that is due to some boredom with some of the same old subjects that are well worn. Hi, I'm Chris, an atheist, and did a master in literature at U. I finished 20 years ago and have been reading like a kook ever since, which hasn't made me smarter, just more thoroughly aware of goofy ideas. I was there for every live John Larson Mormon Expression episode and listened from the start. And I've seen Peterson live twice and have caught more Mormon stories than most Uber fans of that channel. But I'm long banned from Mormon stories for saying things years ago, like slow your roll with the polyamory the second you defect, that you were invited right on to say with little resistance these days, unless Natasha Helper walks you through it, of course. I think that last part is BS, but I appreciate that world is attempting any level of reevaluation with the bits and pieces of that you bring to it, peppered with other little bits I find to be absolute nonsense. Welcome and temper your expectations that you'll be saying anything that will melt faces here. You'll fit right in and plenty share your politics. So I just barely looked this now. It says, perhaps I got a high dosing of shit posting my few days of lurking. I'll take a step back. You feel the group has more depth than that. I'm not looking to melt faces or for praise or even to be understood. I was only curious about what a group like this does under shit posting and seems to stand out so far. So if I misjudge, I'm certainly willing to reevaluate.
Well, start reevaluating.
So what was the video? The video was...
Yeah, I guess her whole thing is that Jordan Peterson is very neurotic. He's terrified of chaos.
I wasn't going to...
Yeah, I'll watch it on my own time.
Yeah,
but we've watched enough of her different stuff, and we were just watching like what she said
like I said, it's not total crap by a long way. It's not glorious either.
What's everybody saying out there? Pizza the Hut strikes again. Women always play the victor and victim simultaneously, playing the victim again. She talks a big game. Her kids are brown. Trump's America's dangerous. Couldn't stand me saying a reality TV show wasn't reality. Oh yeah, they defend that reality show. Not something I'd take them to task with, and I'd even use their big academic words against them, like the Bourgeoisie and hyperreality, pretending like that has anything to say about anything. And they keep going on John DeLynn and defending it as they go and talk about those crap Mormon wives of house, whatever, as if that's something to glean any sort of discourse about. But I don't know. Every time lately, I've been getting kind of bored and frustrated with the same old podcast that I listen to. I don't know why. I think just like after a while, the thing that Terrence McKenna said about the drugs and the reason I don't do the drugs anymore, at some point you get the message, time to hang up the phone like a little bit. And
yeah, no, it's like my thing about like, you know, how many days do you have to go to church before you've heard everything twice? And like, and you get that way with a lot of podcasts.
Peterson's a little bit that. Like Peterson's like
yeah.
A lot of cool ideas from Peterson. It's been a while since I've heard one. I liked his rant on Harvard, but other than that, maybe in a year, exactly. I don't know he's said anything that's caught my attention.
Yeah, exactly. Like at this point, I think I've heard everything he has to say at least twice.
Yeah, and I don't think like we have all these like life coaches and deconstruction, all these people who come in with their Jungian stuff now, and I just think between like Vervaeke and all those other people, the ortho dude bros, whatever, it's all just retreading it, maybe framing it from a little bit of a different political perspective. But like
for the YouTube a while ago, YouTube recommended me some lady, XJW lady, and it's just Brit Hartley type, but JW, and it's the same thing. It's all coming from a feminist perspective, tell all the same stories, and like it's just they're talking about JWs instead of Mormons, but that's literally the only difference. Everything else, like I didn't hear a single new thing listening to feminist ladies talking about leaving the JWs. I'm like, okay, yep, that's that. Like I know chick leaves church. That's the story I've heard at least twice. You know?
The pagan prophet corrected me. It was Alan Watts who said, hang up the phone. And McKenna would say, take it easy, but take it. McKenna was also the one who said, take a hero dose and go into like a dark room. Like maybe I haven't done that. So I could try that, but it's been a long while since Flip. It's been a long while since we did it, but Flip and I, the last time we did it was an absolute dud. Like we had a dud night, and I think that's the last time I ever even tried. Like it tasted like it, it looked like it seemed like it, ate lots of it.
Our friends, it worked on our buddies. It worked all right for them. No, that's the thing is like the last, I mean, I think I've maybe tried 3 or 4 times in the last decade, and they've all been duds.
You're just hitting duds all the time.
Yeah,
maybe people are just recreating it poorly nowadays or something. It's like it's spread around too much or something like that. I don't know, but I'd never had it taste so right and dud so hard, which tasting right's not a good thing. No, it tasted just like the poop that is that stuff.
It is awful stuff.
And we got it all down, and a great big nothing happened.
Yeah. I still think tea is the best way to do that. Because it's the only way you can mask the flavor enough that it's not gaggy and you don't get pukey because you're not swallowing the solid bits. I don't know. If I try it again, I'm going to try making tea. We'll see.
All we did was we had some bags of stuff and we ate so much of it that night that like it would have been my record amount taken, and it was a record dud, you know.
Yeah. So, I don't know what's up with that. That's the other thing, like, you know, like, because every once in a while I kind of thought like, oh, that might be fun to do again.
They were golden. Like, they were golden.
I'm not seeking it out at all. Like, well, that's the other thing. It's like there's been the total number of times I've tried in the last 10 years is like 1/10 of the opportunities I've had. Because like people are like, hey, I got some. You want them?
Like, who's got the time? Who's got the time? Yeah. Who's got the ability and that type of stuff? You know? But anyway, all these different people like her, to me, are getting as redundant as different Christian churches.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. Peterson was kind of like a good version of it. I don't need to hear anybody talk about Jung ever again. I don't hate Jung, and I've actually read some of the books, and I read Eric Neumann's book. I've got it here somewhere. So I've read some of the stuff. I read the one about the mother, whatever it is, and it's interesting ideas. I think it's kind of like Joseph Campbell stuff. Like it's interesting for maybe ideas in story writing. And I think when you go to do story writing or songwriting, you've got to put on a religious brain a little bit if you want to be interesting at all. I think not that you have to 100% do it, but whenever I'm writing songs, I'm a little bit more willing to speak religiously just because it's more interesting than sometimes than.
Yeah.
But it almost kind of seems the same way as like talking about Old West stuff is a big lie too, because nowhere's the Old West anymore. So, I have a song called "I Am the West," and the whole entire thing was just about sitting around and thinking about the Old West. The Old West. Where is the Old West? And it might have been on one of the drug trips or something. I just said, "Wait a minute, we're right here. It's this dumb place. It's like it's Salt Lake. It's Salt Lake. Everybody listens to X96 like alternative rock. We're in the Old West."
Yeah, this is it. Here we are.
Yeah. Anyway, did we want to dunk on? I do not. I want to go back to this real quick. Her Mormon. She's a Mormon scholar, ordained Sufi, nihilism recovery coach, author of No Nonsense Spirituality, All the Tools, No Faith Required, and Rhett and Link are way into it. I think what is produced out of those divinity schools is exactly the same thing as like MTCs produce. Like MTCs produce a missionary, those divinity schools produce a you.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. Like that's the cathedral. That's the divinity school cathedral. That's the purpose of the system is what it does. It produces you. That's what it does. And there's lots of yous out there. And I've had enough you. know?
Yeah. We don't need any more.
Yeah. Anyway, should we go back to? Do you want to do it to the Mavens? The Mavens? We go back to the Mavens?
Are we gonna grind our way through the whole thing? I guess we kind of.
We can try to grind it. We're only an hour and 15 in, or we only got like an hour and 15 left of that. Maybe we can grind it right through.
Yeah, let's start.
Okay, it's hard to find her YouTube channel directly from YouTube, or is that just because I'm blocked from it? Like it doesn't.
I'm not sure. Like I have a hard time finding it too. Like when I search for it.
I mean, it does have like, what is it? When We Choose. That's not like the greatest search name, but
it's pretty bad. Well, because I think it's like, because also she keeps changing her deal. Because what was like, Dear Pro-Life Dad, which is like, okay, that's a bad name. Because it's like, I wish you could see what Marty and Morgan say about abortion to us and not to her. Like
they got to put on
head,
proper.
It's all about Mormons and patriarchy. It's like, yeah, well, they ain't none of that. So what's your, how do you account for them?
Yeah. Oh man. So the thumbnail was Horton hears, or Maven does not hear who, and I was listening to. Maybe I'll pull that up first. I was listening to. What I was going to say is when I kind of got sick of my same old podcast of the people who kind of all agree with me. And after a while, I'm just kind of like, yeah. I know what you're going to say on this. I know what you're going to say on that. And you're not going to, even whatever the new subject is, I don't need to hear your thoughts on the new subject because I know what it's going to be. And I like it and I like your ideas, but your ideas are so thoroughly into me that I don't need you to tell me what you think on Elon and Trump. And but so to kind of get a refresher from that, stuff I start listening to is like ContraPoints type stuff. Like I go and start listening to BreadTube and LeftyTube stuff just to get back in their heads. And I listened to this whole documentary on Dr. Seuss and how Dr. Seuss was a fraught racist, anti-racist who was totally racist, but he was an anti-racist. And how do we deal with? And you remember how like about a year ago or something like that, they were talking about removing some of his old books. And then because he had like old Japanese from World War II art in it about, I guess, kind of some racist propaganda against the Japanese. And so he was a naughty potty pants for that. But he had some other stuff. But they also, in the middle of that thing, here, I'll pull up what it's called. I think it's called like Culture or something.
I watched something ages ago that was like a little documentary biography of Dr. Seuss. And the thing that I always remember that it still cracks me up to this day is that, like, because, they said he was not very social, and that he was at some kind of big fancy people party. And it was like a Christmas party or something like that, or New Year's party. I don't know. I think Christmas party, something like that. But it was really fancy people, and it was being held in some big fancy department store. And at one point, somebody's like, "Where is he?" I don't even remember his name. Like, "Where's Jim?" That's obviously not his name, but like, "Where is he?" And he had snuck down to the shoe department and was just changing the prices on all the products as a punk. Which is just like, that's a good trick. I like that.
Nice. Did I pull it up again in the here? I'll just show it here. This might echo for a second, but the complicated legacy of Dr. Seuss, quality culture, and somewhere in it, she says
quality culture. That's the name of the YouTube. Jeez.
Yeah. And so the whole entire thing 1 year ago was like these types of comics that he made of waiting for the signal from home, honorable fifth column, so he is making war propaganda. And from the war propaganda stuff, he'd make some sort of like racist cartoons. And so there was a bunch of big call to like get rid of some of these old things that he had made. And so a bunch of people from the left were saying they need to get rid of those books and not sell them anymore and rethink certain things from it. And then from the right, they said, "Oh, this is cancel culture. This is cancel culture." This is one of
those things that's ironic. It's like, I didn't know this until you just showed it to me, lady. Like, you're the one who brought it back up. Like, nobody knew or cared about this until you made it a thing.
Yeah, well, somewhere in it, she mentions that Horton Hears a Who. You know the story of Horton Hears a Who?
It's been a long time.
So that's what the thumbnail is. Horton Hears a Who is about, he hears this little voice because he's got big giant elephant ears. He hears this little voice on a little flower, like just down, like he hears the voice, and then it turns out that there's like a whole entire civilization down on this like dandelion, and so he goes around trying to tell people, like, I hear this little voice, I hear this little voice, I hear this little, and then the whole thing turns into nobody believes him and they're not going to save it, but he's going to save it. And so you have to save the smallest of voice. Well, in this video, they complain that Dr. Seuss, that they had that co-opted by the pro-life people. The pro-life people co-opted Horton Hears a Who, and that made Dr. Seuss problematic because pro-life people co-opted the concept of the tiniest little voice as something that you couldn't see. You remember, Maiden doesn't have the object permanence, so if you can't see the thing, the voices doesn't matter very much. Well, Horton Hears a Who is an example of the tiniest little voice still matters, and I guess it was co-opted by pro-life people or something like that, and it was really bad. So I made a thing of like, Maven can't hear a who or a him. She can't hear a flip either, and that's what the my whole convoluted thumbnail is. But let's get back to her, because to get through it, and then we still got to go over the whole debate with Marty and Morgan, but I don't think that will be out to tonight. Has she done more videos on that channel? Do you know?
I feel like, didn't somebody post that she put out another one, I think Monday? I don't know. That's another one of those things where it's like, you've heard everything Maven has to say twice in about 15 minutes of her talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she does not have a broad scope. It's control women's bodies, misogyny, racism, hypocrisy. Control women's bodies, misogyny, racism, hypocrisy. Pregnancy is a death sentence.
Oh goodness, I've got the picture of the Dick of Damocles. Do I dare pull it up? Hold on. I thought I had it in here. Maybe I didn't. That's the old one. Hold on. I'll pull it up after we start listening. Stop sharing. The dick of Damocles. I can't believe you did that. Okay, so present, share screen. We were at minute 143. Here we go. This is where we left off. 1.5 speed.
Misogyny.
Misogyny. Yeah. They didn't agree with me 100%. They're misogynist.
A reproductive being is our natural state, really. So,
which, I mean, that was hard for me to deconstruct as well.
Yeah.
So they're not alone in that.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, and I wish the thing, if they were actually displaying the kind of grace that they were wanting to see from me, they would have tried harder to see this. But when they're asking me questions, they're only asking me so that they can refute and push back and I guess debunk or try to debunk what I'm saying. At no point are they actually listening to try to understand my point of view. So again, it's just a really wild hypocrisy that they want to continue to villainize me for. Which again, I'm not saying that I am all of those things, but I'm at least being honest about it. And I don't see a reason to try to pretend to be or do something that I'm not. Whereas I feel like that is what these guys are doing here. They're
She wasn't prepared to feel the spirit.
No, we weren't prepared to.
We weren't.
Pretending to listen, but at no point were any of them actually, honestly, I think, and Jared is displaying this here by again just criticizing and putting down and minimizing and diminishing everything I say to push back against his ideas. So yep.
What?
No,
he wasn't doing that.
Fundamental biological process in all of you.
Yeah. Were you saying something on that one?
Well, I mean, it's idiotic what she's saying. Like the whole idea about like we disagree on this. Obviously, we're trying to change each other's minds, and she's taking that exact thing and being like, "Well, they weren't even trying to listen to me. They were trying to change my mind." Like, no. First off, yes, we were trying to change your mind. Secondly, of course, we listened to you. The clue is that we were responding to what you were saying, which is what she cops to right there. Like, but she's just mad that we didn't agree. That's her whole thing. Is like, anyway, I'm belaboring the point. She made it for us.
Here it is. The the dick of Damocles. Do not look at the screen. This is Flip's famous dick of Damocles. You're so afraid of going out into society because you're afraid the dick of Damocles is going to fall upon you. I bet you this is like one of those things that a feminist could co-opt and say, yes, it is like that, actually. It actually is like that. You don't even realize that you've just done the proper amount of critique for...
Oh, our feminist here. I didn't just notice that.
The modern world that we live in today with medicine is really against nature or to make up for nature. It's just not, again, it's just another misogynistic point because they're making an exception here where a woman's reproductive use is the most important thing and therefore not worth an intervention if she doesn't want it. Because again, they see more, especially like you were saying, Mormon men, coming from Mormonism, a reproductive being is our natural state, really. So,
I mean, it's literally true.
My evolutionary atheist point is that our reproductive state is our natural state.
Yeah, like humans, like every other form of life, are reproducers. Like, Jesus.
It's what life does.
I mean, I guess we're not bee drones. If we were bee drones, she'd have a point. Yeah. But we're humans. We're mammals. We're placental mammals.
I mean, that was hard for me to deconstruct as well. Yeah. So they're not alone.
Yeah, you're not kidding. It's hard. It takes more faith than believing that Joseph saw God.
Like, and I wish the thing, if they were actually displaying the kind of grace that they were wanting to see from me,
reverence.
They would have tried harder.
Reverence.
We were being irreverent by not just agreeing with her and nodding along and going, "Oh my God, I feel it too. You're right about everything, Maven." That's what she wants.
How did we ever question? We have seen the light.
This, but when they're asking me questions, they're only asking me so that they can refute and push back and I guess debunk or try to debunk what I'm saying. At no point are they actually listening to try to understand my point of view. So again, it's just a really wild hypocrisy that that they want to continue to villainize me for. Which again, I'm not saying that I am all of those things, but I'm at least being honest about it. And I don't see a reason to try to pretend to be or do something that I'm not. Whereas I feel like that is what these guys are doing here. They're pretending
the religious apologist thing, because Jacob, and most religious apologists play this game where they're like, no, you just don't understand what I'm saying. Like, no, we understand. We don't believe.
Well, I mean, it's
we understand just fine.
It's also there in the world of academia, like the academic humanities, like certain ideas from postmodernism. They say if you disagree with it, you just didn't understand what they were saying. They pull that on you in academic.
No, exactly. Communism.
Yeah.
The communists say that. Like, oh,
you
just don't get it.
You just haven't deconstructed capitalism enough. You just haven't done that.
But at no point were any of them.
Divas did an episode this week on 10 areas that Mormonism is on the wrong side of history. And I just hate that phrasing, man. Like, I hate that phrasing so much. Like, where's the end of history, Divas? Like, that is such like a Christian view. The end of the history, some sort of like utopia that we're getting to, the Hegelian spirit we're all going to arrive at and look back upon our bad deeds. Like, shut up, Divas.
Actually, honestly, I think, and Jared is displaying this here by again just criticizing and putting down and minimizing and diminishing everything I say to push back against his ideas. So, yep.
You're speaking about the most fundamental biological process in all of humanity as though it's something that is inflicted upon you. Like, where would we be without sex, pregnancy, and childbirth?
Like, because it often is. I mean, it's a funny still to stop me on, but like,
life was inflicted on you. Yeah, this is where it gets into antinatalism. Yes, life was inflicted on you.
Yeah, life. Somebody decided to fuck you over with life, Maven.
And that's where I said I was hanging out with a bunch of music kids in Salt Lake, and they were all sitting around and talking like they were so badass, and just kind of showing off to the other girls, like who was the more antinatalist one. That I shouldn't have ever been born, man. There's just so much more suffering in being born than there was in not being born. And I shouldn't have been such a difficult thing on my mom. She had to put up with me and all that sort of stuff. Like, I just wish I didn't exist.
Born. Like, it is the ultimate bratty teenager thing.
Where would we be without polygamy? Where would we be without teen brides? You know, how I think most of us women, if we've got any kind of family history, there's got to be some really awful, abusive, shady shit.
Maven, we'd be fine without polygamy, and we'd be fine without teen brides. We would not be fine without sex, pregnancy, and childbirth. Like,
we got to get past it. We got to get past it, or maybe we can delegate it to the robots. The robots can take over for it, and they can be our slaves. Except, wait a minute, I just watched Wild Robot, and we might get to a state like, I mean, I saw that Robin Williams movie. AI, was that AI? What was that called? Bioman or whatever. Like, the robots might have rights too, man. Think of the robots. What if the robots have rights?
Between like very young girls and old men. Again, we're kind of going to this like this appeal to nature thing, and you know, and there are men who also claim that is natural and it's natural and should be okay for older men, you know, to have sexual relationships with minors. You know, like just because they feel strongly that that's natural and they want to advocate for that, and they think we're doing this terrible thing by saying that children can't consent to things like that. Just they're wrong. You know,
what does straw man mean? What's a straw man, Maven? What's that mean? Like, when I say that human reproduction is one of the most fundamental things about being a human, and you start talking about, well, some people think it's okay for men to sleep with children. What the fuck is that? Like, and then and this is right after she says they didn't even listen to me. They just wanted to disprove me and debate me. Like, and this is what she comes out with immediately after that. God damn it. Like, no self-awareness, just none at all.
They're just gone. So
when I was taking care of, I think the youngest person I personally took care of during her labor was 11. And then I've been on the unit when there was 9-year-olds. And
that pisses me off so much.
It's the worst because it's an 11-year-old. They're still a baby. And to put them through that is I can't
imagine, like, what the fuck is wrong with the parents? You know, I just
Yeah. Well, obviously they got pregnant in the first place, so there's something going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, people that are so
Okay.
staunchly
Real quick, because I remember them talking about this. Okay, first off, kids can impregnate other kids. Like, I don't know. It's very likely that this 11-year-old was impregnated by an adult, but it might have been a 12-year-old. And so if that's the case, then where's the evil? Like, you might wonder, where are the parents? But like, you can't watch your kids all of the time, right? Like, kids knock up kids all the time. That is a thing that happens. But for them, it just immediately switched to the worst possible scenario. Maybe it was, I don't know, but it also might have not been. And what, I wonder, Maven and Carrie, what about children that are knocked up by children? What's the deal there? Does that change any of your calculation at all?
against abortion in any circumstance. They haven't had to explain to an 11-year-old that she has 3 holes and one of them is where the baby's going to come out. And you got, like, they don't even understand that the sex they had. I'm saying they, like, in general, but in my experience, they don't even understand all the ways that they got pregnant because of the thing that they did with whoever the man was.
Yeah.
They don't have any
It might have been
understanding
the boy,
of that. It's
whoever
just
the
terrifying.
boy was. They just assume it's a man. Could have been a boy. But also, like, here's just saying that, like, oh, they don't even think about this. Like, what'd she say? Like, people who were opposed to abortion in any circumstance. Like, okay, well, I was the guy who was just talking, and I'm not opposed to abortion in any circumstance. So, again, who the fuck are you talking about, and what the fuck are you talking about? Because it's not me.
Risto and Jared, I think both might be. Risto, you're
Yeah.
happening.
think
But
they're close
I don't
to
know
that.
about like 11 and 12 years old. What's the Mormon Church's stance on like something that young? Do they have like a youngness? I know they have a incest and
rape and incest.
Rape and incest, but do they have a youth?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, so very sad. I got a little emotional. But it is emotional.
I mean, deservedly. But that's the thing that we're facing. And that's, I mean, and like Flip showed earlier, like he talks about rape, but he just like hand waves it away. It's like, it doesn't happen that much. And again, it's just
you guys hand wave away murderous situations. So Flip can hand wave away something that is only like 1% of something when he's trying to talk about the 99%.
Like, and for one thing, I don't hand wave it away. I'm trying to get her to talk about all of the not rape cases. Like,
everybody agrees on the rape cases.
Yeah, like, we're all on agreement on rape. We're all on agreement on
Russell M. Nelson.
We're all in agreement on
cases.
Yeah,
the only person who has some doubt about that, and I think he's tried to talk a little bit about it, is Risto, who questions on if it's still a life worth thinking about.
Yeah, that's like with Maven, where and in private conversations, I was even more direct about this. Where, like, there is vast consensus, like there's a big consensus in the middle on the 3 exceptions: the rape, incest, danger to the mother. So, with those out of the way, can we please talk about everything else? But Maven will not have it. She will not fucking touch that.
Yeah, can we get past all the things that we're all, if Russell M. Nelson agrees on it, can we get past that and talk about the other situation?
And
that's where
Maven's answer is you're worse than a rapist for bringing it up.
Radio Free Mormon says if it endangers the mother, that they'll be okay with it. And Starbase Cole says being pregnant young is dangerous. I'd assume Rista would still be doubtful about it unless it's just in the situation that the mother's life is in danger.
A concerted effort to avoid actually speaking with any real empathy or concern over these situations. They would rather just say, like, it doesn't happen that much. So it's just kind of like this kind of tacit, like, look, it's rare, so it's okay. Like, maybe it's not ideal, but like, oh well.
Okay, so this is Maven. Not only is Maven lying about me saying that, or that being our position generally, that we say it doesn't happen that much, so it doesn't matter. Okay, that's not true. But also, Maven literally says when we bring up things like, the Mexico hypothetical, she goes like, well, that doesn't happen, so it doesn't matter. Like, So not only is she lying about us, she's being totally hypocritical, because that's actually how she hand waves away real issues, is to say, well, it doesn't happen that much. Like, that's not the point. We're asking, what do we do in those situations? And what about the not those situations? But of course, Maven isn't being honest with herself, let alone any of us.
And there's not one person over here who doesn't empathize, hate, and would likely feel that like force up to and including perhaps murder if we came across a rape was happening on the side, all the way up to Jacob and even Russell and Nelson. That if we came across somebody in an alley doing that and had a gun, we would probably use it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think that it's effectively, because of precedence, it's like not a thing anymore. But as I understand, maybe I should check, maybe RFM knows, I think rape is still a capital crime. Like, the capital crimes are murder, treason, and rape. Technically, you can get the death sentence for it. Let me double check that. I know that was the case.
They never want to actually think about little girls like this with any compassion.
Until it's there.
No, we do. We absolutely think about it. That's why half of the entire right gets up in their heads about grooming gangs and all that sort of stuff. All that stuff today about Trump possibly being on the Epstein list. And you see all these people love saying, like, they would give up the Trump. We were saying it before. I think most people, if they had proof that Trump was on that list, would dump Trump in a second. They hate the child rape so much. They would just need the proof of it. There's going to be people who wouldn't believe it, like all the way down to the end. But most of the people on that side 100% empathize with that and hate that. That is the easy scenario. But that's why they call these things wedge issues, right? Because there's certain parts that they don't want to talk about. They don't want to address. Well, not saying they don't want to address. They just don't. They don't want it to be the subject because we all agree on it. We want to get to the subject, to the part that we don't agree on. There is no disagreement right here about what to do with rapists and what to do with rape scenarios.
I guess it's generally is not a capital offense in America anymore. I know it used to be, because I remember reading that. But yeah, I guess it's not. There are some cases in some states apparently, but apparently says the U.S. Supreme Court. Yeah, the U.S. Supreme Court decisions have established that capital punishment is not permissible for rape. So, there you go. But it's still a life sentence.
Kidnapping used to be capital until LE realized it was counterproductive to getting victims returned in one piece.
Oh.
Law enforcement. Wow.
Until it's their niece, and then maybe they'll have a different opinion. Because
maybe, but maybe not. And that's the sad.
Not until it's our niece. Like any gal on earth getting raped, if I had a chance to stop it at the risk of my life, I would take that risk.
Yeah.
I think is that there's quite a lot of parents that are willing to inflict a lot of harm on their kids, and yeah. So, okay, back to Flip.
There's that duper's delight. Maybe your little smiles after saying bullshit like that, I'm going to call it duper's delight every time. You're a walking duper's delight. Those stupid smiles that you think that we're all cool with rape. Yeah. Shut up.
It's such bullshit. Like, and that thing's like, it's a smear. It's not just wrong. It is a smear.
Like, it sucks. It's hard. But like it wasn't. It's not a prison sentence. Nobody sentenced you to womanhood.
It is inflicted on a lot of people. If it's not consensual, it's not okay, and that goes to
what is inflicted? Biology? You were born a woman. You have the equipment to reproduce.
Not by
the
myself.
universe did that to you. Whose fault is that?
So
I don't want to get off the weeds. I want to
wanted
get to the
to.
point.
What was the point? Are you?
Well, the point.
I mean, sex is a part of human life too, but we don't think rape is okay.
Yep.
But that's the way that people reproduce.
Actually, I can. There are 10,000 times that I've watched personally on the internet, on TV, on the news, and it's not just feminists that do this, but the whole when the bad guy gets sentenced and they say, "Well, I hope he gets fucked in the ass every day." Like that happens on all sides, happens all the time. I've heard 10,000 feminists talking that way about rapists. They're very pro rape in that sense.
I think
that's not my argument, and that's not my belief. So.
Well, but that's out there, right? That thing like because feminists talks about this thing called rape culture. Now, the feminist version of rape culture is a fantasy; it does not exist. But this thing I'm talking about, where people talk about the rape aspect of prison life as being like a bonus.
They're gonna guffaw at your point there.
I'll say it again right now.
Like every academic university has more rape going on it than the Congo does.
Yeah,
Yep.
the feminist claim of rape culture is non-existent. It is a persecution fantasy. It is not real. This idea that society is okay with women being raped. No, it's not. We're not doing it.
Well,
Nobody's
they had
doing
those
it.
stats for a long time that they like to say that on certain college campuses it was 1 in 4 women being
1 in 4,
raped,
which
and
is
they
a lie.
completely skewed the numbers. They
Yeah.
skewed how they were collecting the data. They basically
Yeah.
asked every woman if there was any sort of situation in their life where they didn't totally feel 100% comfortable with the sexual situation, but they did
Yeah,
it.
no, like
And that's not including like if they're just talking about like stuff with their husband or something like that.
like the way they got to that 1 in 4 figure included that, like, if you were on the bus and somebody asked you out and it was awkward, that counted as a sexual assault. Sexual assault is rape. And like literally that's how they got to those numbers. And of course, the actual reality is that women are, if anything, safer on a college campus than anywhere else. But again, they need their persecution fantasy. And pointing out to them that it's not real is for them a very bad thing. They need it.
Yeah.
It's like I made the analogy a million times, but like Nazis aren't relieved when you explain to them that their Jewish conspiracy theory isn't real. It's not like they're like, "Oh, good,
Thank
I don't have
goodness.
to worry."
The Nazis aren't
thank
coming.
goodness.
The Jews
I don't
aren't
have-
coming for me.
I don't have to worry about that anymore. Like, no,
They
they
have been
don't.
relieved of this fear.
They get mad at you for saying it. Like, yeah. And that's things like feminists are the same way. Like, feminists are not relieved when you point out that there is no gender wage gap. They don't feel better. Like, no, they need that. They need their precious little conspiracy theory. They need their persecution fantasy, because that's what powers their belief system and gives Maven meaning. Like, obviously, Maven has her entire identity. Like, she gets her meaning in life through this activism. And if you take that away from her, you're taking away her raison d'etre or whatever.
Yeah.
To incarceration as far as a punishment.
No,
They say it's like, it's like,
find it abhorrent that it's played for jokes or laughs.
no, they're not joking. I don't think they're joking. I think they're very sincere.
I thought that was you now. I keep having that happen. Sorry.
Right.
Starbase Collab says words equal violence was a crazy time. Do you think we're out of that time, or is that still going?
Oh no, it's still going.
Um,
By the way,
it
like
does
perfect
seem like-
Orwellianism, like silence is violence, words are violence, but throwing a Molotov cocktail into a police station, not violence.
Yeah,
Like, we're still very much in that world.
that is true. Forrest says, "Want to talk persecution? Tinder just made a height filter, and my ass is 5'6". Oh.
You hear about
No, but even like in media, it's played as a joke. If the bad guy gets
I'm 5'10", and that did not help on Tinder. If you got to tell them you're like 6'4" or something like that, even though they wouldn't actually care that much about it in real life. But
Well, no, I mean, anything can be a joke. I'm saying that I have.
damn, I keep having that happen. I keep thinking that's you right there. All right.
is really horrific. So I'm going to argue this on this, and the same with conscription. I come from a military family, and I'm against it for either
There's a comment. That's a disgusting point Flip just made.
genders. For
Well,
other, for other
well,
reasons.
okay, I'm
I
speaking about history.
being on here, but I really feel like every time I'm asked a genuine question by Marty or an attempted question by Jared, I feel like you're flying in and derailing the whole thing.
No, I don't.
Okay, this is the part that I was talking about.
He doesn't breathe. He's just railroading everything, whatever.
This is the part I
I'm
call him
just
out,
what
and
everything?
look how well he takes it.
I think it just bleeped out
I'm
real.
gonna go back just a little bit here.
Railroad.
Saying that I have seen enough just
It's
to know.
really horrific.
I've
So
seen
I'm going
enough.
to argue this on this, and the same with conscription. I come from a military family, and I'm against it for either genders. For other, for other
well,
reasons.
okay, I'm speaking
I
about history.
being on here, but I really feel like every time I'm asked a genuine question by Marty or an attempted question by Jared, I feel like you're flying in and derailing the whole thing.
No, I don't appreciate the
And I think that
I'm totally on point.
I don't appreciate you either. So
Yeah, no, I
really-
know. And the reason is maybe because I'm doing the equivalent. I'm doing the equivalent of the, like when you're in Sunday school when you were 5-year-old and you asked how to know if the dinosaurs on the ark. This is a world-breaking question, and I'm breaking your world. And you like to deconstruct Mormonism, so if you don't like your shit deconstructed, then you need to stop deconstructing.
No, I do because I want to be an advocate, and I'm going to keep advocating for this. But
yeah,
right?
no, exactly. That's the point.
I had to mute myself because I'm like, he's just like, and I'm telling you, and you're.
No, but it's like the other thing is that Maven completely misses the point. Like, he says she's against conscription. I don't think she's thought about it very hard. I think that that's clear from me even bringing it up. But also, I'm not bringing it up to say that you're for it against it. I'm bringing it up as an example that your stupid patriarchal conspiracy theory doesn't hold up to even the least bit of scrutiny, because feminism has been doing its magic for 150 years, and they haven't done fuck all about military conscription. You know, and at the same time, they're trying to claim that all of civilization is structured by men to benefit men at the expense of women, and yet we live in a world where only men are conscripted into the military. Like, it's just your stupid persecution fantasy is not real. And she just goes like, well, I disagree with it. Like, well, obviously not very much, because I've never heard you even fucking bring it up, you know, despite all of your feminist activism, despite all of your desire for equality, supposedly. But of course, she's just full of shit.
Do you
My
remember
point
how
was a good one. That's why you didn't like it. What?
Kate Kelly was pushing for that Equal Rights Amendment to pass through, and was always pushing for that. I think it was part of a job that she obviously no longer has, because a while back she was going around pushing for jobs somewhere. But she was pushing for that Equal Rights Amendment to come about. And one of the arguments against it from Phyllis Schlafly, back in the 70s, they made a whole movie about her starring Kate Blanchett, and then there's this website just dedicated to going through the lies that they told in that movie. But one of the things that they kind of joke about, there's a conservative feminism that's hardly like any better, because they just think men should be cannon fodder as much as anybody else. But one of the reasons Phyllis Schlafly is against the Equal Rights Amendment is because it would conscript women just the same as
no, there's a famous case like right after World War I, where the Australian Parliament just on their own
keep going on here
decided to give women the vote. And women took to the streets and protested and said, how dare you? We don't want the vote. And it was entirely because the vote came with conscription. Voting was, and for men in America today, voting is a privilege we get in exchange for conscription. And it was not until conscription was taken off of the table for women that women wanted the vote. You know, that's one of those things where like feminists always say like, oh, feminists they fought for the right to vote for women. Like, no. Women got the right to vote at the instant they wanted it. And they didn't want it until conscription was off the table.
It was even worse than that. There was one of those ladies, the same one who wrote the Feminist Bible. Remember that one? She was one of the people who were there for the original, that original paper. That lady wanted to suppress the women vote when it came to voting for women's voting, because she knew that she couldn't win for women's voting if women got the vote. Jared's here.
Hello there. I'm on my phone. I was just wanting to chime in because you guys mentioned Kate Kelly begging for jobs, and it made me laugh. We'll do marginalized people attorneying for cash.
You could have her. Could she come do your job? Could she come and help tear down a submarine? Or
Lord, I hope not.
Complain about rights when you guys tear down a submarine?
I'm sure she could come there and complain about how differently men and women are treated. Although men and women are treated differently in that women are not really expected to do anything.
No. But the men have to do stuff?
Well, if they want.
They have the thing where the hazmat suits aren't shaped for women's bodies, so they don't have to go into the dangerous radioactive places.
Those suits aren't really shaped for anyone's bodies, but the women's, I don't know, they could do it. It's just, they see a nice cushy office job and they're like, yeah, give me that.
Yeah, like what? How does that always work out? That the women always get the nice job in the chair, in the air conditioning.
Oh, I told you I did an EEOC report this week. Guess how many administrators were women out of 20?
Out of 20 what?
22.
I guess 21.
It was. You're very close. It was 22. And then guess how many laborers there were out of 145?
140.
145.
No, too far. It was like 133 because there were some housekeepers.
Okay.
But other than that, you know.
That
But
sounds about right.
I have to admit that the system isn't sustainable. Like the way that all the women take the office jobs and all the men take the grunt work, and every single office turns into a longhouse.
Well, that's what that's what Anthony Cumia is always suggesting for the police force. That like it makes zero sense to have women trying to arrest violent criminals because if you think of the escalation of force used, like if I attacked Chris, he could probably, pretty easily, even if I'm like blood rage, he could fight me off without using terrible force. Worst case, pepper spray. If I attack my wife, she would probably have to jump to lethal like immediately. So that's what you see. Like the female officers is like a giant guy comes at them and they shoot him. You're like, well, that makes sense. There's not really many other steps between there that you could take. And so he's always saying that, yeah, maybe the women officers should just like be doing desk jobs, and it'll free up another man to go out there and do the dangerous job.
Yeah, I watched all the police body cam incident videos, and I have to say, like, I've seen a few with female cops that I have to say they did a great job. But there's like, and that's things like, and I've seen a few of male cops that did not do a great job. But like there is a very obvious gender disparity of women doing a terrible job, panicking, just basically fucking everything up. In fact, it was just a few weeks ago. There's one that I think even Dr. Grande did a video on it, where a woman had her gun taken. A guy took her gun away from her, and like she just completely fucked it, and then panicked and ran, and put everybody in danger. And yeah, like, and then also just like because the screaming, the fucking screaming, like. I try to think of Jordan.
Yeah, she starts shrieking, "Oh, don't shoot me! Please don't shoot me! Please don't shoot me!"
Yeah, like I don't know.
But she thinks she's about to die, so I can't blame her.
Yeah, no, and those things like and I don't know. That's tough. I mean, obviously, but yeah, there's just that. I don't think that like women who want to be cops should be allowed to be cops, but I think that shoehorning women into it. A lot of them that shouldn't be cops are given the job because of desire for diversity, and that's bad. Should not happen.
Sounds about right.
What's the Bear Lake like? Full of bears?
I haven't seen a single bear. I feel kind of ripped off. Actually, I hate bears.
Well, aren't they deadly?
Yeah, bears are like my number one fear. Like we went camping a couple of years ago with some friends, and we were like, "Is there grizzlies in that area?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Why would anyone ever camp near grizzlies?" And like, they usually don't bother humans. Like, yeah, but when they do, they really bother them. And, like best case scenario, your ears hanging off the side of your face and your bicep is gone. Like that's the best case scenario. And you can tell people a story about what it sounds like when your skull crunches. But
or they bite right into your femur.
I know. Well, and we were asking him stories. I did not sleep at all that night. Seriously, I had my hand on bear spray because I don't even have a gun that could take down a bear. Like I got a 9mm and an AR-15. I'm like, but anyway, I'm laying there and I asked people about it. I was like, oh, so have there been grizzlies around here? Like, yeah, the other night there was a mother with her cubs walking through. Like, why the fuck are we here? Why are we? What the hell, guys? And every couple of months, I'll see some East Idaho news article that's like, oh, some grizzly got into somebody's food, and so we had to put it down. And I'm like, good. Oh my god, good. And the comments are full of a bunch of animal people who are like, oh, that irresponsible person gave him human food, and so now we had to kill him. Awesome. Kill all of them. Oh my, I don't care what it does to our ecosystem. Kill all of the bears everywhere. All of them.
Have you watched that bear documentary where our
Oh,
good buddy
the
says, yeah, where the guy gets
Grizzly
eaten by a
Man?
bear? Yeah.
Yes. What's his face? Fuck, I can't remember the.
These bears, they don't care
Yeah.
about you. They just bite your head. I hear.
You must never show the footage to anyone.
That
It
was
is
pretty bad.
disturbing. Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of stuff floating around this week about that Christopher McCandless guy, the dude from Into the Wild or whatever that died in Alaska. And they're like, it's been 20 years since that movie came out with Emil Hirsch. And everybody's like, wow, such a good movie. Such a remembering this guy. I'm like, what did this guy do but just go die in the wilderness? Like, that's all he did. Like, I reject society. I'm going to go to the wilderness. Bleh. Died in like 2 seconds. Of, like a South Park episode or something.
That's like a South Park episode.
Yeah. I go to the wilderness. I don't need society or money or anything, man. Careers are just like something people invented. Bleh. Bleh. Just dies in like 10 minutes.
You know, through that in that gorilla versus 100 men debate, I got into an argument with somebody over who would win, a gorilla or a grizzly bear. I was like, a fucking grizzly bear? Are you retarded? Of course, a grizzly bear. Those things are just solid muscle, and they sprint up trees, and they're built to kill. They will eat you ass first because they are not worried about anybody being able to hurt them. The only other animal that could really kill them is an elephant, maybe a hippo, and a polar bear, and that's another bear.
I would take a grizzly in most cases. They're so giant. I mean, there's this grizzly statue up in Park City, and I get next to the statue. It's like a life-size statue. I get next to the statue. I get scared. Like I want to whip my pants. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so big. I can't believe how big that is. And
I'll think about it just randomly. I'll be like walking around in the middle of, like, I'm wearing my respirator at work, and I got my clothes. I'm doing my surveys in this gigantic tented area, and I'm like, fuck, what if like a grizzly were in here? I don't know why. It's the most irrational. I mean, it's rational to be afraid of grizzlies, but it's irrational to think that, like, what if one just walked into my house? You know,
I feel like Jared's got the grizzly of Damocles hanging over his head up there.
I do have the grizzly of Damocles. Man. I hate him. We drove by when we were going to this area to camp last year, and there's a grizzly out in the middle of a meadow, and it's cool to see. But there's people like 80 feet away from it, just like
You've seen a grizzly
people.
in the wild?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
There's people like 80 feet away from it, just stop their cars and get out and start taking pictures. And I was like, you're just counting on the fact that he's going to go after someone else. That's it. Like, you're stupid.
Don't have to be faster than the grizzly, just faster than the other guy. Jared, do you care at all about rape even?
Are you asking if I care about rapists? Because yes, I'm very passionate about defending rapists.
Rape? No. Do you care if like girls get raped even? Like, I don't think you care even.
Oh, no. I thought you said rapists for a second there. I was like, yeah, I'm very defensive of rapists. But rape, no, that's just kind of a thing that you do, right? Like, who hasn't raped here or there?
Yeah, no, we just hand wave it away. We don't care. That's Maven just Maven just talked about how we all said we don't care about rape.
No, of course not. Why would you care about rape?
We don't want to talk about those cases because we don't want people to know that we don't care about it.
No, we're pretty upfront with the fact that we don't care about it. In fact, I was raped yesterday. It was like, fuck. Okay, I'm gonna be late. Can we pick this up?
It's like that Norm Macdonald bit that he does a few times where he's always like, yeah, for me, Bill Cosby was my favorite. I admired him more than anybody else. Not for his comedy.
Ryan, you think a rhino would beat a grizzly? No way.
I don't know about that, actually. Rhino might be one that could. I don't know much about rhinos, but the only land mammals I can think of are elephants, hippos, maybe rhinos, and definitely grizzly bear or polar bears.
How fast is a grizzly bear? Because rhinos are fast. They're like the
grizzlies are crazy fast.
Grizzlies are insanely fast, and they can fucking sprint up a tree just as fast as they can run.
If you watch any of like the grizzly attack videos all over YouTube, the first thing they start talking about is don't run, you won't beat them.
Yeah. If you're like a half a foot away from your car and he's like 50 feet from you, then yeah, I guess go for it.
Says they run 35 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, because a rhino's got an insane hide. But it'd be difficult to get a hold of the grizzly with the horn. Like, if you could gore it, you could gore it pretty good. But grizzlies are so fucking insane. Like, I've watched video. We wanted to go camping, and I was gonna get a gun. And I was like, I need to get one that can take down a grizzly. And I'm like researching shit. I'm like, will a 10 millimeter handgun take down a grizzly? And they're like, maybe. Will a 9 millimeter? Oh, not even. That's like a BB gun, man. Like, you might as well hit it with a stick.
Bounce off their skull. I
This
remember.
is
yeah.
a hippo running speed's 19 miles per hour, but I bet you they're crazy faster in water than anything that you could. You couldn't beat them in water for sure.
Oh no.
Rhino running speed. It says Mitt Romney runs about 20 miles an hour.
I see what you did there.
Oh. White rhinoceros 31, Indian rhinoceros 34, black rhinoceros 34. Yeah, they run fast. They run about as fast as
Of course, the brown ones are faster than the white ones. That's true of all the mammals.
Well, I don't know. Maybe polar bears are fastest because polar bears like the only land animal that there's a standing run on sight order. Like grizzlies, they'll tell you not to run from because they're gonna beat you, but if there's a chance they'll just fuck you up and leave you, and you'll still survive. With polar bears, yeah, they're gonna beat you, but they're gonna kill you.
They're gonna eat you. Yeah, they're
They
hungry.
will. Yes, they will kill you and eat you. They kill and eat cubs of competing mates, so that like the mom will be like, "Oh, I gotta have some cubs, so I guess I'll mate with you." They're assholes.
They eat all living things. Did I tell you guys about that stupid TV series I watched about the Terror, which is the real true boat that got stranded trying to find the connection between Canada and the North Pole, which is like an awesome story. And I wanted to see this story, and it had like a 10-part series with some really good actors in it. Like some of those actors from Chernobyl are in it. And I watched it. I'm like, this is going to be really good about how these guys got stranded. You can look it up. It's a real story. The Terror is the name of the boat. And they kind of went nuts because they had canned food, and that was really early in time. Anyway, I start watching the movie, and it turns out they were getting attacked by a giraffe polar bear who was being commanded around by an Eskimo woman.
What the hell?
What?
Well, because the woman didn't like that they were colonizing their land, so she commanded around a giraffe polar bear to kill them so they wouldn't colonize her land.
The hell is a giraffe polar bear?
Shut up. You don't know? Come on.
Is it a type of polar bear, or is it just like a made-up thing?
It was magical, mystical, indigenous knowledge.
It was
polar
called,
bear.
it's a mystical Eskimo thing called a Tuumbak, Tuumbaq. Images. Let me show you what this thing looks like here. I'm in Google.
The backlash to the everything's getting a fatigue put after it now, and the backlash to the noble savage is gonna be brutal. The movies that come out in the next 10 years are like anybody a shade darker than me is gonna be functionally retarded.
This is the Tuumbak, a giraffe polar bear, and it was commanded around by
Looks ridiculous.
By this Eskimo woman who commanded it around, and it sometimes had a human face like that.
Jesus.
To kill the colonizers. And that's the story of how all the people died on the Terror, which was a real boat that really existed and really got.
You thought you were going to see like
I thought I was watching like a good,
a historical dramatization of a true
story of a boat that got captured just like this, trying to cross the Canadian.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Does the Tuumbak thing even exist in Eskimo lore? No. But
it's not even Oh my
No,
God.
it's not real Eskimo lore because they didn't really have anything that was feminine enough. So you had to imagine that there probably was, and that these white American writers could fill in the gaps of like what was probably really happening there.
Well, do they have a written language?
No.
No.
Yeah, because I'm like that would sort of put a damper in it. I don't know. I was having a conversation with some dude. He brought up race. He's this black dude. He brought up race, and I don't even know how he brought it up. And he's, I felt kind of like a dick. We were talking about Pride Month, and he's like, "You guys keep saying that you're fatigued." And I was like, "Well, yeah, people are fatigued with Pride Month, and so they're pretty much done with it, and it's stupid." And he was like, "Well, you read any book, your people were the source of every plague and every war ever." And I was like, "What do you mean, my people? Are you talking about white people?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, because we're the only ones fucking writing, okay? Like, we're not the only ones writing, but like, of course, we don't know as much about Eskimo genocides or sub-Saharan genocide because they don't write shit down." Okay, like we wrote all this shit down, and I say we. It's not we. It's not me. I had nothing to do with it. But this whole collective guilt bullshit is just batshit.
It's getting pretty old. It sure is. Should we get back? We're getting right to the part where Maven started talking about Reese, though.
Okay,
That's the
I'll
juicy
stick.
stuff.
I'll stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, let's try and grind some more of this out. We don't want to do yet another episode of this.
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm rocking your
But we still got to cover Marty and Morgan debating. Although maybe just the whole highlight of the Russian dolls is enough to cover that. But.
world. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just the fact that he could turn in like the very legitimate and obvious to literally everybody but him behavior that he's engaging in and will continue to engage in, and be like, that can't possibly be true. Like, I'm just attacking him now because he's rocking my world. Just like the smugness, the arrogance, just the delusion. It is off the
tell us
charts. It's
about
absolutely
smugness
like
and
it's not a
arrogance.
stretch to compare stuff.
It's
You don't
not
like
even
smugness, Maven?
And guess how I know that what I was doing was actually working? Because you couldn't answer it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like what you're talking about is like when you're in primary and you say, "What about the dinosaurs?" It's just those types of questions.
Yeah, and like I did exactly that.
And I asked that a million times in primary, and all I ever did is get kicked in the hall, which is exactly how Maven would kick me to the hall if she was the teacher and I was a student. And I just said, "What about these fringe cases? Go to the hall. Go to the hall." It would be just exactly the same thing. Not saying that, not saying like in a Brit Hartley way that you melted our brains with how much depth he brought to the. It's saying it just cracks. It just cracks the contradiction. It's cracking your contradiction. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Like, and if you should be able to explain that how I'm wrong, but obviously, like even when I'm not there, even after a year and a half for you to think about it. You can't explain without I'm getting anything wrong.
Yeah, you can only guffaw that you said that. Like, oh, he said this, guffaw, guffaw, guffaw. That's all you can do. Or kick a kid to the hall. That's the same answers you got about where are the dinosaurs. Where are the
Maven's
dinosaurs?
never had any. She's never had any interest in explaining why anyone's wrong. Like she just explains that they're wrong, and you're just supposed to take that for granted.
Yeah.
You are worse than a rapist.
Stuff like this, dude, flat Earth. Because it is that level of just, ha, gotcha. You sheep. You believe NASA. You believe the government. Like you believe it. It's just like, wow.
No, it isn't.
It's just like wow.
Wow. It's just like that. Wow.
It's just like wow.
Maybe what you're doing is just like if I asked where are the dinosaurs in these scriptures, and you just went like, oh, this is like asking flat Earth stuff. You're being like a flat earther because I'm asking where the dinosaurs are. Like,
man.
And
Kent Hovind gives better apologetic answers than you do, Maven.
And it is the ironclad law of woke projection because, like I've said a million times, feminism is to sociology as flat Earth is to geology. Like you are literally the one who believes in completely, obviously impossible reality. It's not us.
the top-down
That's you.
super conspiracy of men that impose the universe upon you, oppose the cosmos upon your bodies.
Well, did you feel schooled in that moment, Maven? Did you come to a greater knowledge after that?
You still haven't answered the question. You still haven't solved the riddle.
Carrie,
you were
No, I
objectively
help.
schooled.
Carrie can't explain. Like neither of them explain what I'm getting wrong.
the men out, and I see a man whose ego just got hurt, and he
How was it hurt?
No, so
Like,
that's perfect projection. No, your ego got hurt, Maven, because you haven't been able to consider this shit before now. Because you're a fucking
you
hack.
weaseled out of the contradiction, and that's it. Like that doesn't hurt
Yeah.
the feelings.
You were asked a question so basic and elementary that I rolled my eyes when Flip asked it. Like I was like, oh come on, man, why you bring this? She's definitely thought of it. Oh God, no, she hasn't thought. How has she not thought of this? I got it. Okay, that was good on you. I wouldn't have asked her that. Like, this is the easiest fucking question to answer, and you just refuse to do it.
his instinct in that case is well, it's always instantly to put a woman down, to put her in her place for doing that, and that's
because
right.
you're a woman.
Your
that's right.
instinct, the instinct is the opposite. Once again, your instinct is to suddenly be a damsel in distress and weasel out of it and disappear. And
well, it is kind of. I guess she's got a point in pointing out the disparity. You were a lot nicer to Seer Stoner and Jacob Hansen when they came on to our show.
Yeah, I was famously nice to them.
I see happening there, 100%.
Oh, no, I'm an advocate too. That's why I rail against feminism at every opportunity.
It's just funny that you guys are here to talk to me about how effective I am in things. And I have Aspiring Gray come in here and railroad me there. But that's fine, because the question that I wanted to ask that he cannot answer because he's displayed, I think demonstrated that he can't, that I think the rest of you can, is how to talk better about this if I'm going to be engaging with other people. Because I mean, I know what convinced me, but I also feel like I was open and empathetic and willing to listen. And so if it was somebody like my father where I can't even get out a sentence, I mean, maybe
No, that's not fair. That's not fair.
that's all that there is. And maybe I just need to focus on people who, like you were so evangelical, are willing to listen and actually do want to go out and hear the other side of the story.
Let me answer that, maybe. Let me explain a little bit of my railroading here. I've spent a decade in my deconstruction from being a feminist trying to talk.
I just feel like you're wasting time. I'd really rather.
I know I'm wasting time with you, but we have an audience. I spent 10 years trying to talk nice to feminists, and boy, did I learn my lesson. And that's why I said at the very beginning, I am years past tiptoeing around the bullshit, right? Like, to make an analogy to the Mormonism thing, like all this stuff that you're talking about, like you're talking about the nitty gritty of the Aaronic and Melchizedek priesthood, and did so-and-so pass it so-and-so. And I'm here to say, not only is there no gold plates, there is no God, right? Not only is there no capital P patriarchy.
Cherry Sweet comments, I rail against feminism when I can.
RALE. You know what this reminds me of? So me and Morgan like watching our really, really stupid Hallmark movies, and we're watching one the other day, and one of the dumbest things happened was they're trying to. One of the things those movies do terrible at is proving that the boyfriend is a dick, right? Because there's the current boyfriend and he's a dick, and that justifies her going to the love interest. And in this one, like, she's at this art gallery, and her boyfriend runs the art gallery. He's constantly making these calls to get her hooked up because she's an artist, and he brings her favorite smoothie at the beginning, but he's just kind of inattentive. He's kind of like, she goes, "How does this painting make you feel?" And he's like in the middle of texting, putting together her next art gallery. He's like, "Oh, it makes me feel nice," and like she doesn't like that enough. But one of the things she keeps doing is she will, like, as he's leaving a room, she will start asking him a question quietly enough that he can't hear it, and act like he's a dick for not, because he's like on his way out the door, and she's like, "Oh, how did you like my?" And then he leaves. Dress. And you're supposed to think he's a dick because of that. I feel like that's the Maven Flip dynamic here. Anytime he kind of doesn't let her get away, she keeps trying to talk as if like, "Oh, see everybody," like her voice cracks a little bit when she does that. "See everybody, how he's just steamrolling me," and he's like, "No, you lied about him," and he interjected, and you didn't want him to interject. You want to play the damsel.
But I was like, it just, and again, like the whole thing is recorded. She talked plenty. I was quiet for long periods. In fact, in their dumb review of me, they shit on me for being quiet. Like, it's heads I win, tails you lose again. Like, no, like, and that's why I said it just there. Like, no, that's not fair. It's full of shit. You've been able to say plenty. but
Yeah.
she's just gonna lie and pretend like he literally never let me speak. No, that's a lie, and not that's not a small lie. It is a big
Well,
fat lie.
she is even more blatantly unaware of how long she talks than Seer Stoner was. Because you remember last time he was on, like I actually timed it. Like I hit a timer between when you stopped talking and then you started talking again. And it was like a solid 8 to 12 minutes, something I can't remember exactly what it was. But as soon as you talked, he was like, and there you go, you're not letting me talk. And I called him on it. I was like, dude, I timed it. You talked for 10 solid minutes without being interrupted by anyone. Is that not enough time to get your point out? Most of us don't need that much time. And we could do the same thing to Maven. Obviously, she's never going to come on here and talk to us again. But if she did, I would totally time her. I'd be like, oh, Flip just interrupted. Maven, you just rambled about bullshit for 14 minutes.
Yeah. And she interrupted you and Risto a lot.
Oh, she interrupted me nonstop.
She interrupted me.
And it's like she thought she could finish my point for me. And she never, it's wild to me how little clue. It's when you're debating with somebody or discussing like this and they start bringing up a point, you can generally get, if you're smart and you've thought about this stuff before, you can generally get somewhat of an idea of where they're going. You don't want to be a dick and finish their point for them. You let them finish it. But she had no goddamn clue where I was going with this. Like where anyone was going with it. She would try to interrupt us and finish our point and get it totally wrong. It's annoying enough if you do that, even if you get it right, but she got it wrong like every time.
Yeah, I swear there was like some skit at some point or another. It might have Saturday Night Live or something where a woman was saying like, we finish each other's sentences, but she keeps finishing it way off. Ryan Wimmer says the dinosaurs are in the Bible. Job, the behemoth, just asked the creationists. Some creationists claim the behemoth in Job 15 was a brachiosaurus. And as a kid, I would have accepted that answer. I was generally asking the question back then. I wasn't just trying to I'm like, where are the dinosaurs? Where are the dinosaurs? And the answer was go to the hall. And if that's your answer to stuff, like it genuinely, it does something. Like I remembered my whole entire life that the answer to my question was go to the hall. You know, it sticks with you. You know.
Yeah, if Maven could have sent me to the hall, she would have.
Well, she did.
Yeah,
effectively, the rhetorical hall.
That's what den mothers do, and it was a den mother who sent me to the hall.
There's no capital P patriarchy, and so that's like because you're saying like, oh, I don't want to listen. The fact is that like I'm
that's what we were saying to Britt Hartley earlier. There is no capital P patriarchy, at least the way she asserts it. Like I would agree to something that there's some patriarchal setups of certain religions, like that sort of definition. But then the way they just announce that the world is patriarchy, you know.
Yeah,
ninja at this stuff, frankly, because I'm pretty sure I've read more of your literature than you have, as far as the stuff you're advocating for. You know, and that's the thing. Is like you don't pussyfoot around Mormonism, right? Is that fair? Like, do you pussyfoot around the Mormons? Are you gentle with the Mormons? Because I've seen you. I don't think you are, and I don't think you should be.
Not on podcasts usually, no. But with my own family in person, I usually act differently.
Well,
so that's always the question. Like whenever this stuff gets to what people may call like the cry bullying or something like that, but it really is true. Is that like if you dish out, you should be ready to take. That's the give and take of the world of discourse. You know what I mean?
Not in the world of feminism.
Yeah. If you're going to go put some stuff out there, you should be able to defend a little bit where you stand at some point or another and not just cry if anybody tries to challenge you at all.
Well, the Mott and Bailey and the double standard are just basically the point. Like it's just assumed. It's like they can understand that a double standard wouldn't make any sense in anywhere but this exact area. Like that Maven acts like a damsel as soon, like you're just talking over a woman. Like she doesn't. It's like it doesn't even compute because it could be like, okay, if I was doing this to any other group of person, and I frame it up the way it is, that would be I should treat them the same way they're treating me, right? Yeah. And then as soon as I flip it around to feminism, it's like, so I should talk to you that way because you're talking to me the same way. No.
Look at Jonathan's face there that we paused on. He is falling asleep.
He's like, no, that's just like, okay, I'm done.
Oh, he was just blinking.
Okay. I like you, Megan. I genuinely like. I appreciate you.
What are that? My 10 years beat yours.
Yeah, she spent 10 years arguing with feminists. Like, what the hell was she trying to say there? Like, Like,
This is like one of the things that her comment earlier was like, I rail against feminists. Like the way that you guys assume a position of the world is such a default that just Flip saying that I rail against feminists, which is an ideology worth railing against as well as any other sort of ideology. And you guys feel that you can just repeat it and guffaw is a response to that. You know?
Also, like when she says like my 10 years beats yours, like what does she think she's saying? You don't argue with feminists. I know you don't. You are one. Like you're not even making a
she's
point.
not saying that. She's saying she's got 10 years of reading her own material over because
you said
I've read more material than of your own.
I can.
Well, no, then why should you say
almost...
10 years? Because I said I spent 10 years. No, I spent 10 years trying to be nice. That's right. I spent 10 years trying to have serious conversations with feminists. It says my 10 years beat yours. Okay, what are you talking about? Like literally everything, every criticism they get, they fuck up or they miss the mark. It's really amazing.
I kind of almost feel bad for Carrie in this instance. It feels kind of like, so Jacob Hansen had me and Emerson Green on his channel to kind of criticize the RFM Colby Reddish criticism of him, and I had a couple of actual criticisms of it, but there was a lot of the video I just agreed with, and I told him that I was like, look, man, there's going to be a lot of this I agree with. Like, if you want to talk about Book of Abraham stuff, you're going to have to do it without me because I'm just going to be like, yeah, no, they're right about that stuff. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. And he's like, no, I'll do that in a different video. I feel like this would have been me, because I think Emerson, like, he's a nice guy, but he had some criticisms of the video that I was like, nah, I don't know about that, man. I think they were pretty all right on that criticism. And I think Jacob could tell when I was doing that because he wouldn't really go to me and ask me about it. But I feel like that's kind of what this lady's doing. She's like the version of me that tried to look at that video of RFM and Coley Reddish and criticize every single aspect of it, like not really knowing anything, not really believing it, but knowing that, yeah, they shut on my friend, so I need to criticize this in some way. I'll reach and fight it. I feel like it's most of what Carrie does on this. Anyway, I actually got to get out of here. My phone's dying and the charger just isn't working. I'm on 4%, so.
Okay.
I'll see you guys later.
All right. Leslie says lying about height on Tinder for a guy is no worse integrity-wise, in my opinion, than wearing a padded bra is for a girl. Yeah, I know some people do it or whatever, but I remember I met some gal from an online thing once, and I'm 5'10", and I got there, and she was very upset about me saying that I lied about my height and I was shorter than I said I was. I'm like, no, I'm 5'10". Like, we can measure it right now, but what are you talking about? Like, do guys do this all the time? And you're like concerned about this sort of thing? And guess what? Flip, you might remember this gal. I think she came over, but she pretty quickly started telling me she had been raped, not once, not twice, but thrice, but not 4, not 5. You remember that one? And then I was like, yeah, she was like a redheaded gal. She came over and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stay away from this, because she just like would casually drop that a bunch of different times in her past she'd been raped. And I'm like, okay, we're not doing this, And,
yeah. Like, can we just go someplace with cameras and witnesses right now?
Yes.
I know you probably feel that, but mostly been
I do.
what you talk strategies that people use to say, okay.
Pause. Sorry, I did that again. I don't remember where I was at. Do you remember the timestamp? I don't think it showed up. So I'll try to find it and get back there. But I just want to say, like, and point out and appreciate the that little bit there of Marty pointing out that I was outnumbered and even Flip saying, like, I like you. It doesn't mean much. It doesn't make up for, stuff like that doesn't make up for everything else and every other way that he treats me, but it's at least something, and I want to at least give some credit for. So I do appreciate that. So I'm going to try to find where I was, and I appreciate your patience.
One of these three things that
I think
can
it
prove true,
was more like
but then one of these things,
45.
misogyny, could be interpreted in any way.
Sorry, what was that?
Starbase collab, you're 6'11". For really real?
I think, was it more like 45?
Oh yeah, I think we were like before Flip just disappears out of frame here. Okay, let me try this.
Again, I am years past
Okay,
hit
I think
around
this
the
is close
bullshit,
enough.
right? Like, to make an analogy to the Mormonism thing, like all this stuff that you're talking about, like you're talking about the nitty gritty of the Aaronic and Melchizedek priesthood and did so-and-so pass it so-and-so. And I'm here to say, not only is there no gold plates, there is no God, right? Not only is there no capital P patriarchy, I mean, that's how I started. Like, not only is there no misandry, as you're talking about, there's no capital P patriarchy. And so that's like, because you're saying, like, oh, I don't want to listen. The fact is that, like, I'm a ninja at this stuff, frankly, because I'm pretty sure I've read more of your literature than you have, as far as the stuff you're advocating for, And that's the thing.
Grace says I'm 5'5". Starbase Claw was joking. 6'11". This is the problem with Tinder stuff. And I actually saw Sargon talk about that thing, and I think Sargon's right about it. Is that I do think men can almost overcome any sort of obstacle physically with a woman. They can charm their way out of it, but you can't do it from a distance on like a cell phone if they have a cell phone filter. So if you're in a world where you can't be like at school around them every day, where you got a chance to charm them again or charm them in a different way or do some sort of thing, I do not think that having every little checklist thing is the most important thing to a woman. That's just not really like kind of like how they really actually are. But if the internet, if the Tinder app is making them make that choice from the start, they will choose from there, and they will be ridiculous about it, and they'll just bar themselves from ever getting to something where if they were actually around a bunch of different guys in real life, they could be charmed out of anything.
It's like, you don't pussyfoot around
Yeah, I mean,
Mormonism,
listen, I
right?
haven't read
Is that
that, so
fair?
I
Like,
don't
do
get
you pussyfoot around the Mormons? Are you gentle with the Mormons? Because I've seen you. I don't think you are. And I don't think you should be.
not on podcasts usually, no. But
Yeah.
with my own family in person, I usually act differently.
Well, that thing's like, no, that's things like, okay, I'm done. I like you, Maiden. I genuinely, like, I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. No,
I just
Yeah,
don't believe you.
Maiden is super duper outnumbered, and
Yeah, I don't know how you feel,
I-
English. I know you probably feel that, but most of it.
I do.
Well, you talked about, like, and I mentioned earlier, like, around
I do agree she's way outnumbered, but I said it before, like a week or something ago. Like, we have volunteered to go be outnumbered. Like, just put us on any one of those podcasts and outnumber the living dickens out of us.
Like, yeah, like that's all I do. Like, what difference does it make if you're outnumbered? If you have the facts, if you have the arguments, it shouldn't matter. What difference does numbers make?
the overturning of Roe.
Especially if you kind of like pass yourself off as a professional activist of the thing.
Yeah.
Like the areas of this world that I am a professional level knowledgeable person of, that put me in front of a classroom for that. I mean, that's technically what I did as a Spanish instructor. I was in front of 30 people throwing questions at me. You know what I mean? I'm an instructor. I'm a professional at that. You know, I should be able to speak in front of any sort of size group if this is my thing, you know.
Oh, like, I started looking into it, and I'd be interested to hear more of like your thinking and how that changed over time. For me, as I started looking into it and tried to hear perspectives on the other side.
You mean like before, like when I switched from pro-life to
pro-choice? Yeah. But as I looked into it, I had trouble finding really like logically consistent perspectives on the other side, and I found myself moving. Well, one, I found that even though I was pro-life, I wasn't really well informed.
So this is where it gets outrageous. And Risto asked her to remove apart from this, and they politely did. But
I'm kind of surprised they did. But
or thought through on the issue.
For them.
And then, but secondly, as I looked into it more, I found myself being convinced by the arguments further and further in the pro-life side.
But even I don't think it really changed the substance very much. Like, I think she's still left in enough of a condemnation of him that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
To the point that, like, I have two daughters. Like, if one of my daughters got raped, I would say that she has a baby and she would need to carry it to term, you know? Obviously that'd be a conversation for her mom and I, you know, to have with her. But like, if you view it as a human being in that womb, like, I found the argument convincing of like, why punish that person for the choice that they didn't have in that circumstance? So, you know, I'm still open to hearing arguments and perspectives from the other side around the country, and then the number of crisis pregnancy centers, and then compare those two numbers. And one receives public funding and the other doesn't.
I feel like one should and one shouldn't.
But they're way outnumbered.
One should and one shouldn't.
I meant to pause it, but I think it froze up right as I did it, so I thought I was successful. So I handled this okay at this point, but this was something that bothered me the most when I was done with this interview, and I just the rest of the evening thinking about it was what Risto just said right there. I know. I mean, I'm sure you know, it boggles my mind that a man can feel like a good dad and feel like a good person and feel like he cares about his daughter when, like, being willing to just to extend his own daughter's assault so much more violently, the assault on her body, and make it like so much more protracted, so much more dangerous, so much more damaging. I mean, like, literally life-threatening. How does any man think that he's a good man and willing to put his daughter?
She's talking about it like as if Risto would have the power to force his daughter to stick through that, whereas he was obviously saying that like that's where his stance would be, but he wouldn't, you know, it would still be a discussion between everybody there involved. His stance would be, I think that to be consistent, if my daughter had been raped and had a kid, that there's still another life in there, and I'm just so consistent on what life is and what life isn't, that I would still advocate that you do not abort the life. That's Risto's stance. But she's talking about it like Risto would be forcing that upon the daughter. And I don't think he said that at all. He said it was a discussion to be had with everybody there. But that's his stance, to remain consistent on when he thinks a human being is there and when it's murder.
So much more harm on top of what she's already been through. To just drop that. So
that's the edit.
Why
It's
is that
gone.
more harm necessary?
Did you see the edit? The edit was gone right there.
Oh yeah, this whole idea that it's more harm. Like, again, she thinks that pregnancy is a death sentence. Like, no, it's not easy. It's hard for a lot of women, and it can go very bad.
Being more harm that you have to deal with 9 months of dealing with and alter your body because of something that happened to you outside of you.
But at the end, you get a little human being that gets.
Well, I think in that scenario, especially if it was like a young daughter, it'd probably for sure be put up for adoption in most cases, don't you think? Or not always. I guess we know a gal who was the product of a rape.
Yeah,
and, that's why she has her particular views on this sorts of thing. Because
I mean, this is the thing is because like with Maven, the thing she constantly gets completely wrong about our position, my position specifically, is that like I agree it can be very bad, but it can also be good. It's not impossible. Like
it can be healing to take that choice.
Yeah. And it can, like, I mean, when she was playing this live and she had me blocked, I'm not even sure if she could see it, but I was commenting and I was saying, maybe, just maybe, for the girl to carry the baby to term might not be the worst thing, or it might even be a good thing. Like, that might be the best thing for all parties. Like, I'm willing to agree that it might not be, but Maven is unwilling to even consider the possibility that maybe the best thing for all parties is to carry the baby to term. Like, but she just won't even consider that. It's off the table for her.
Not to give a spoiler about it or anything like that, but the whole entire like premise of that, the Watchmen comic book, the whole entire thing is like there's this superhumanoid man who becomes so superhumanoid he loses all humanity and can't see humans as humans anymore. But one of the things that keeps him attached to seeing humans as humans, and this is written by Alan Moore, he's a super duper lefty, but one of the things that keeps that humanoid attached to his humanity is he is mesmerized by his girlfriend, who is an amazing, great person and brings all this good and great to the world. And he knows, and she doesn't know, that she's the product of a rape. And he is just mesmerized that so much good in the world came from something so bad. And it obsesses him,
I think, like I said, we basically know that story. Like you just said, in fact, I don't know. I doubt we could get it to happen, but she said she'd be willing to do a podcast with Maven. I think that would be interesting to see how that would go, because like she's even more strident than I am. I think when it comes to this subject, she really gets angry because she was supposed to be aborted. She had a really terrible childhood, and yet she's the pro-lifeiest of all of us.
Yeah. Ready for More Minutes asks, is that the owl? No, that's Dr. Manhattan and his girlfriend. Was it the Spectre? But her mom was raped by this is giving away a ton of spoil. Dr. Manhattan by the comedian who dies in the very beginning of it. And Silk Spectre, whose mother is Janie Slater, and she had a run-in with the comedian who dies at the very beginning. I mean, that whole Well, you've heard me rant about it before, Flip. That comic book is just a masterpiece of different moral perceptions, and that there are different moral perceptions. And it's one of the things I point to people of saying, like, if you want to look at people realizing that there's a difference between deontology and utilitarianism, and the answer of something, Watchmen covers it. And it covers it in like these sorts of scenarios. It's basically like your question that you threw out, that you said is a world-breaking question. The Watchmen is just, where do all these different axioms clash? Axioms clashing, and saying that it's not so simple. We have different axioms and the axioms clash. And maybe I'm not the world's most horrible person because I am not, I have a different axiom than you have an axiom. Like Dr. Manhattan says in the end of the Watchmen, although I do not condone all this, I understand it. I understand it, Maven. That's what the superhumanoid, all-seeing God person of the Watchmen sees in that. I guess I shouldn't be pontificating on comic books.
Casually, it's just wild, and it's fucking infuriating. And so like Risto was really nice on that, but that's what really gets me, and I think what really shows just how evil it is out there for women, and just what we're up against. Because even like little girls who really think their dad loves them, he's caring for them, feeding them, clothing them, all this thing, but yet there's a way that you could be harmed or even killed, that they just feel that they can feel so casual about, and again just feel like, well, that's what your body is for, and like it's not ideal. Like there's sadness there. I will acknowledge that. I will acknowledge that they care, but you can do all of that. You can care for an animal. You can care for a child. You can be really, really sad when they pass, and you can be responsible for their passing, and you could have been able to help it. But in the case of a daughter, she wasn't worth it. Like the rest of her childhood wasn't worth it. Her future wasn't worth it. Her mental health wasn't worth it. Her physical health wasn't worth it. Like her life wasn't worth doing everything to
That's
protect.
not
And it's just
at all
so
the case.
disgusting.
I thought
Like, that's not what he's saying, that it's not worth it. He's saying that maybe a little person is worth more or worth enough. But like, she has to, and the other thing is when she says like us, Maven, you're an adult and you've had your tubes tied. Like you're not on that team anymore. You have taken yourself out of team pregnancy. So don't say us. Like that's a weird teaming there. Like I'm as much on the team as you are, which is not at all, because neither of us are going to have babies.
Yeah. Arfin says, I better stick to Marvel. I've died as a comedian before. But as a Marvel lover, you might love The Watchmen, because The Watchmen's a send up of DC, because Dr. Manhattan is the philosophical concept from Alan Moore of what would happen to somebody who actually was a Superman. How detached would they get from what humans are? They would stop to understand what the human plight is. They would stop to get what everybody cares so much about, this or that or the other. He'd stop to even understand what life is really. And that's what happens to him as he becomes a super being. And that's a rip on Superman. Night Owl is making fun of Batman, because the guy's got, he's got like a midlife crisis. He has like a paunch belly, and when he can't be saving people at night, he has to be out in the world, and he has to have it, and he doesn't have it, he becomes just kind of like a nerdy old bleb a guy. But then when he does get it, he gets sexually aroused by it. The whole thing's a send up of DC. You should, if you're into Marvel, you should watch Watchmen, or
Nerd.
at least read it. Nerd. Let's finish this and then just wrap up on some other stuff and not keep going on this one all night.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting by that kind of disgusting and just short-sighted when he said about his hypothetical situation, his grandchild, the fetus of his daughter. Like, they didn't do anything wrong. Why should they be punished? But his daughter didn't do anything wrong. So why should she be punished? If that, I have a 12-year-old female that loves babies, that loves little kids, and it would be really hard conversations if she became pregnant, because physically she is not mature enough. It'd be a very high risk pregnancy at this stage of her life.
It's just clashing axioms. Like, when's it okay to harm a human? And in one scenario, Risto thinks they're both humans, and in one scenario both can live, in the other scenario one must die. And Risto's axiom is that I don't believe you should kill for that. That's his axiom. Clashing axiom.
And I think it would kill her to think about
kill her emotionally, not kill her.
Not having that baby. But that is, again, something that we would have to work through, and it's case by case, and it shouldn't be up to me to talk to your daughter and make that decision for her, or vice
But he didn't say that.
versa. That's her decision. and I would ultimately support what she decided, and I would make sure she was informed about the risks.
Extremely informed. Yeah.
Yeah, and like everything, and like
he didn't say that. He said it would be a discussion. Like, you guys landed on the same exact position, only that he would have the position that he thinks that's a life, and that would be his vote. Like, that's the entire difference.
And that I would support her decision, even if I didn't agree, which I don't know what I would even think, because you don't know until you're in that situation and know all of the variables.
Right.
Oh goodness, like that should be enough to get you unfriended by Maven, just saying that. Like, you wouldn't just immediately say abort it. Like, Maven's unfriended people for saying as much before.
But it was just sad.
The point that like you pointed out that why about his daughter also being innocent and why should she be, but the fact that doesn't even enter his mind, goes to just more evidence of what I was pointing out earlier, when they're not seeing the human.
Like this whole, like this just projection. No, what didn't enter your mind is that little human being is a human, that is a daughter, that is a granddaughter, that is a potential for so much wonderfulness. Like maybe if that person could be given the choice, they would say, please let me live. That's what didn't enter Maven's mind. This idea that none of this stuff entered Risto's mind is bullshit. I think he's thought about this.
Ready for Mormon says, I feel like Carrie's taking out a different position while pretending to agree with Maven. That's what I thought from the beginning. Like, at the very start, she said, I might not, I have my own opinions on all this stuff, but I'm here to defend you or something like that. And I asked, but what is your own opinion? Do you dare to say it? Because if it's even 2% off of Maven, she's thrown people all the way under the bus for that before. And my whole entire Flip's point is he's largely stands with her, but our whole point is the Watchmen point. There's different axioms and coming at stuff from different. The end of Watchmen is utilitarianism versus deontology. Who is right? Who is right? And the story does not tell you who is right, because both are just different axioms coming at a problem.
Humanity of the mother, like she's just in this like hypothetical scenario about his own daughter, her humanity is out of the picture and it's just the grandchild. And so that's the kind of thing, like when they try to push back and they say like, well, of course we see, of course he still sees his daughter as human, but again, just not a human, not human enough, not a human that matters more than the one that she's growing. So yeah,
well, you said it's a human, and that human is his grandkid. Like, what are you talking about? The only argument is that it's not a human. Like, that's your only argument, like, which is an argument that you can take. But you guys are arguing as if they're both humans right now. The daughter just matters more. Your argument is that it's clump of cells, and that's not a human yet down there. That should be the argument. But if you're sitting here saying like that human matters more than the human in the belly, you are conceding that they're both humans, and that Risto being concerned about that isn't up in the night.
He didn't even think about that and what it was doing to her.
Yeah, and he kind of he said I would have to decide, like I would have to talk to my wife, and then I was like, what? So this is a conversation, but then he quickly followed up with and with her, like as the third person. She's the first person,
right? And the way he's like end with her, not really as a.
They have to twist everything. They twist literally everything. They have to. Oh, God damn it. They're so awful.
Third person, but I think as in like telling her like that you need to be prepared to have that baby. That's how I saw that. Not that he was like really conferring with his daughter, but that he is telling her what to do, and that also shows that entitlement over another person's body. He is going to tell her what to do. There's some ownership here where his thoughts matter, his decisions matter, and he will consult with his wife. I'm curious how, like, if she was adamantly opposed to what his opinion.
There's also a level of true belief of religious concern in Risto's world as well.
Not that matters. If
he would be talking his daughter into committing a sin that could end eternal life of the person, but that's just belief,
I wonder how much her thoughts would still matter.
Yeah, that's just like that vestiges of you are the patriarch of that home.
Yeah,
and you have the final say.
Right. That was a really sad part of the interview.
There's tons of.
He didn't say that. He didn't. I'm the patriarch. I have the final say. None of that came up. They hallucinated all of that. They just hallucinated it.
Yeah. Jared said it's easy. Rorschach was totally right. Alan Moore is a retard medium that God himself used to convey the message of deontology. Yeah, I agree in that situation as far as it comes to nuking a whole, well, nuke a city to save the world. Like, what if Ozymandias is right? Like, what if it does save the world by nuking a city? Like, although he can't prove that, you know what I mean? But could Ozymandias be right? Like, did it save the world? Did it save the world by nuking that city? I don't know.
Yeah. So you say you're willing to like hear arguments. You just haven't been compelled by anything yet. So I guess I'm not sure. Are you saying?
I think the hardest part of all that type of utilitarianism is having some sort of proof that you really did save the majority of the thing that you really think that you saved, which is always hard to.
Like, I guess compel me, like present me something. I guess
yeah, have you always? I mean, you grew up Mormon, so you probably started in a similar place. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I got it. So I think what convinced me isn't going to convince you. So
wait. Let's just stop there. So I'm agreeing with Jarrett here. Is like that we can't start a conversation from that point. Otherwise, like, why talk to anybody?
Well, I guess I'm not saying you can't be convinced. I'm just saying what convinced me because of things that you've already
said. So do we get past that subject? Like, that's pretty well done with this for this week. Here, listen.
Yeah,
watch this video. Men saying sorry versus women saying sorry.
Okay, baby, I'm sorry. Simple. You know that I never meant, but I never meant to do that, but you never think of my feelings. You don't know that I love you, but at the same time you despise me. At the same time I get angry and multiple and you don't care, but I do forgive you. But at the same time you think, okay, baby, I'm sorry. You gotta think for my feelings, but yeah, I'm sorry.
RFM wants to know what they edited out. I don't know if we should talk about it. The whole point is that it doesn't.
It was just more of the same. I mean, I think you can.
Just really.
He's just saying that, like, I can't believe that he would do this to his daughter. He's a terrible parent and shouldn't have a daughter.
They basically they basically took it out of the hypothetical and acted as though that's Risto did the worst thing that they imagined, and it was incredibly shitty.
I've got the transcript of it, which I don't know that Risto wants it back on the internet, but I think it is just generally what I said there. I mean, they were nice enough to edit it out for him because he said, although I think the general crux of it was still there, is that he's a bad dad and he's a bad parent. But I think, did it also kind of hint at he may as well have been party to the rape or something like that?
Basically, like they basically accused him of being the perpetrator and not even talking about a hypothetical.
Yeah, I've got it here. It was only like 30 seconds in the end.
Man, I got a big day tomorrow, but I'm excited.
You do?
Yeah. My kid's coming in to town. And then I was gonna work tomorrow, but I ended up taking it off because I still have way too much to do to get ready.
I'll find the exact transcript and forward it to RFM through maybe Jonathan Street or something. And I'll find the exact part. And because I don't know that Risto wants to repeat it again because he asked it like taken off of here. But yeah, they really went in on him and he got upset about it. And he said something about it in the comments and they were nice enough to edit it out. So I won't put it back out there, but I'll let you see what it was. So you got the kid coming in town and for a week with you for a week?
Yeah. Like 8 days. We're gonna go to Vegas.
Alone, or has he got his girlfriend with him?
No, just him.
Wow.
I couldn't afford. If I had more money, I would try to get them all out here. But
when are you going to Vegas?
I think we fly down on Wednesday.
And how long there?
Just staying one night.
Oh goodness, where? You said Excalibur?
the La Fontainebleau. Do you know that one?
No, is that new?
I think so. I did a little bit of research. I wanted to try someplace kind of nice. Like, part of me thought it would be fun just as a gag to get a room at the Luxor, because I stayed there like 10 years ago and it was like a Monty Python sketch how fucking run down and shithole that place is. But I'm like, no, I wanted to stay at a good place. And the reviews were that Fontainebleau is actually a really nice hotel. Because that's the other thing, is like, because every time, because
it's in the south. It's down below the Sahara.
We rented a place in London, and it was kind of shitty. And then, when I saw him in San Francisco, I rented the La Quinta by the Oakland airport, and that was really shitty. And so, like, I'm like, no, this time I'm gonna spend some money, and we're gonna have a nice place, even though it's just one night and it's Vegas, so we're not gonna spend a lot of time there.
Oh, so I know exactly where that is. That's a little bit back beyond the Hilton, and yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah, the reviews on it were, like I said, that they said it was good value for money. And
it says it's right next to the Hilton, right there too. What do they have in place where the Sahara used to be? Right there. I don't ever build something up. I remember when the Sahara got blown up.
You lived there, so like you have a little bit more of a picture in your brain, because like I've only been there a couple of times and barely.
Not only did I live there, I one time had my gas run out right on Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard intersection, which is literally walking distance from where you are staying. It ran out right there, and I felt like such an a-hole, and everybody was stopping and saying, "You a-hole!" It's like, I know I'm an a-hole. I don't even know how I did this. And, yeah, it was right in the intersection there. And
we're flying down Wednesday, and I'm going to rent a car there because we're going to drive back to Salt Lake. Kind of can't believe how much the car costs. Renting a car in Vegas for 2 days cost as much as renting a little Fiat 500 for 2 weeks in the UK. I don't know how the fuck that came out, but that's how that.
Why did you get a car?
Well, because
you're like in walking distance to the strip.
No, because like I said, we're driving back.
Oh, just for the drive back.
For part of it is because like I wanted to show them southern and central Utah, but also we're gonna stay a night at my aunt and uncle's place in San Pete County, and like wanted to drive through St. George because the guy he's named after, that was the last place he settled before he died on his way to northern Mexico to establish a polygamous colony down there for Brigham Young. But yeah.
So he used to see the Wild West where he comes from.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, like, because he's also just like, even being raised in England, he's like he's all into the like Western aesthetic.
Like, I bet you just how much space there is will melt his brain. Like, I bet you.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's been to California, so he knows. He's seen America. Because like it is crazy. Like, I mean. Because England is just so smashed together. Everything just feels tight and compact. Like everything is skinnier. The doors are smaller. Just everything is smashed together.
Radio Free says the Hoover Dam is amazing. I've been to that many times, but my Western brain doesn't understand the East, and it doesn't understand like Europe and stuff like that. So whenever people in movies would talk about like train hopping and jumping whole countries, my Western brain would be like, so you drove 25 hours to like, if they just went from, I don't know, Amsterdam to,
Liverpool to London is like Salt Lake to Cedar City.
Yeah. It melts my brain. Like, I don't even understand it. I'm still just so Western.
It's crazy.
If you ever see like a population map of like how sparse we actually are out here, how this is kind of one of the areas in the world, it's just kind of really hardly anybody here. When was this place built? I'm trying to see.
I don't know. Fontainebleau.
I think it was built after my time there.
Yes.
2023. It is.
Oh, it's brand new.
2 years old, man.
Yeah,
but it looks like a lot of like the Vegas-y things. Like when I see like they all kind of have like the same sort of look. Like, I don't know. Is this by those guys who did the like Red Rocks and the South Point? And
no idea.
Guys who used to own the
It was initially occupied by the Thunderbird Hotel. It was later renamed the Silverbird, then El Rancho. I don't know.
Oh,
He wants. I want him
totally
to talk to you though, because he wants to play some poker, and I'm like, all right, you're gonna have to talk to Chris for advice because he's actually really good.
The Thunderbird, does he play poker at all anywhere?
So he's never played live poker. He's played it on Red Dead Redemption, so he knows how it works.
It's probably good enough, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably like some things about etiquette and like how it works in a casino. But
I've seen that Thunderbird Hotel in some movies. What movies have I seen that? Is that like in some Elvis movies?
Probably.
I think it is in some Elvis movies.
The Drew Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Happy steak. But yeah, no, I'm excited for that. We're seeing They Might Be Giants on Tuesday.
Sweet. Where?
Depot.
Oh, that's
it's
here?
the only, yeah, it's the only place they've played in Salt Lake for.
Yeah, I saw them
more
at the
than a
Depot
decade.
with you, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, I've got to figure out how to give. I bought tickets. They were playing 2 shows, and I bought tickets to both shows. But my kid says he's probably not up for doing both shows. I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll give them to my brother.
Don't they mix it up for 2 shows though? Don't they usually do like a kid show and an adult show?
So that's things like, because if it was only up to me, I'd do both shows just because like I've missed the last few times they've come to town for various reasons. But this tour, I understand what they're doing is every show they are highlighting one of their albums. So and they're doing I think 2 sets of each show, because that's the other thing, is what they call an evening with They Might Be Giants, where there's no opener and they do 2 sets. But like my understanding is like every show they're highlighting a particular album, then mixing it in with a few things. But like, and so it's a surprise every evening which record they're doing. That's kind of the idea. Because they got a lot of records.
So is the flood show just like completely triple sold out?
So the last tour they did was the Flood show, because so it was supposed to be 2020.
Man, I would like to see the Flood show because
that was the 30th anniversary of Flood, but obviously COVID happened, and then so like COVID knocked it out for like 2 years. And then they were going to do it, but then one of the guys got injured because he was in a car accident. And so it basically just kept getting pushed back. So like the Flood shows ended up actually happening in 2023. And then now they're doing, like I say, album highlights.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So the place you're at is built on top of where the Thunderbird. Oh, I remember the Thunderbird. Thunderbird Hotel.
So many restaurants. Look at. Yeah, I don't know. Like I was saying, like, because he said he wants to play some blackjack, wants to play some poker. I suggested we should get big cigars and walk the strip. But
he's 21.
Yeah, 22.
Jeez.
Which is funny because, like, in England, in the UK, 18, it's 18 for everything. You can drink, smoke, and gamble at 18 there. But
says the Thunderbird's still around, and it's getting demolished, or it just barely got demolished.
I don't know. Things change. They're so fucking fast.
Yeah, Vegas is crazy, man. And I don't even know it's been 20 years now since I lived there, and so much was built up since.
No prices on the menu. That's always scary.
At your hotel?
Yeah. I mean, it's like all Vegas hotels. They've got a million different restaurants, but this is the signature dining. So that's probably the $200 plate places.
Jared chose the Bear Lake over. Chose the Bear.
Yeah, I went out there and did a karaoke song for my wife, and now they don't want me out there anymore.
You got kicked out for karaoke and again?
I did my Tom DeLonge impression.
Got your phone Powered up.
Which one?
Huh?
Which
I miss you. I sent a video of it. I sent a video. Yeah, you did.
You didn't.
Don't waste your time on me.
The video didn't come through.
Oh, I didn't?
Mm-mm. This is what I'm doing to miss out on. Is he paused or are we paused? He's paused.
He's paused. Oh, he's paused.
He's paused.
He's paused in a funny way.
Sorry, that's my bad.
You're paused and the video is not. Oh, there it is. All right. So should I?
Yeah. Got it if you want to. This is what I got kicked out of karaoke for. I came out there and they're like, I never do karaoke, but I am a little drunk, and they're like, do a karaoke.
Are you
and I was like,
functional alcoholic?
I'm almost as functional as you are.
You're around parents
really
and stuff?
So functional.
Yeah.
I wonder what
well, I just do it anyway. It's not like I tell them, like, I am about to get drunk now.
Oh, they don't know?
I think they do.
They should definitely like. That's far more shameful than drinking.
Playing the harmonica.
that's my brother-in-law. I wish they would have got the rest of it. It really showcases my Tom DeLonge impression. I feel like it's one of the most spot on of all my impressions.
Don't waste your time on me. Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good. They should hire you in the DNC to be the voice for men.
I used to make fun of Tom DeLonge so much, and then they came up with that cursive singing shit, and I'm like, man, you guys make him sound like legitimate.
Man. We didn't even talk about the King of the Hill murders.
Oh, yeah.
I guess there's nothing really to say about it.
Well, just that
it's crazy.
They're immediately running with it was total gay hate crime, which
it's homophobic, but his husband is female. So you're like, wait a sec, what?
Like
Hold on, I'm doing the math.
The story they tell is just it screams of Jesse Smollett. Like, it's so on the nose. It is so on the nose as to be unbelievable.
Well, yeah, and there's something weird I think Jonathan sent something earlier, or Chris, one of the two, talking about the husband that is a woman. Like, obvious when you look at her, you're like, this is a woman that's been on testosterone for a week and a half and has a couple pubes sticking out of her face. But when you listen to her talk, it's weird how she's like, when I was with him, it was really severe, and I was like, it's okay to die, buddy. It's okay to die. He's my husband, and I saw how bad it was. I said, it's okay to pass on. You need to pass on. I cannot fathom saying that to my wife. If my wife gets shot, I'm gonna be like, all right, baby, this looks bad. Just call it. It's either gonna hurt for 20 more minutes, really bad, or it's gonna hurt for 2 more minutes. Not very bad. So just, it's fine. The kids will be fine. I'll be fine. Just call it. And no, I'd be like, oh my God, stay with me. You do not fucking fall asleep. Open your eyes. I'd be slapping her face. I'd be like, get an ambulance over here. Like I would be killing myself to try to get her to not fall asleep. And it's, you had a good run. You get shot in the fucking heart, and your husband's like, it was good while it lasted.
That's you trying to control her body to live. Sexist. That story is wild. But that Jonathan also sent one too, that they do think that the person who shot at him who does appear to be some Mexican, was calling him a joto, which so that could be a hate crime because he said joto. Although any Mexican who shot me would also, in that moment, call me a joto.
I mean, also like that's coming from the same witness that just I don't buy. I just don't buy it. And also, there's all the other information coming out from the other neighbors saying like, no, the guy was a nutcase and he was threatening people.
There's video of him marching up and down the street with a pitchfork, telling people that his street and his house and stuff like that. And I could imagine like somebody like pulling a gun on him, and he had a gun too, and was pulling on them, and there was probably a standoff. And usually in Mexican standoffs, they don't play this in the movies very much, but if you watch the real Mexican standoff, you'd hear the word joto fly a few times. Not with such a W to O on there. Joto. But I don't know. Maybe it was a hate crime. But I don't know. That's so wild. They say that he was just going to Los Angeles to go try to record again for John Redcorn. And I was like, he supposedly showed up. Actually, there's footage of him showing up at a panel discussion.
At the event.
At the event, and just like yelling at them all that he doesn't. Yeah.
I'm an artist, and an artist, when he sees a microphone, he grabs it. So I'm grabbing it. And my house burnt down last year. You want to know why it burnt? Because I'm fucking gay, and I'm so gay, in fact, that I put my cock
wrong.
I put my cock inside my husband's vagina. That's how gay I am, and that's why they burnt my house down like that. Also, it might have been a meth lab explosion, but probably homophobic hate crime.
I wonder if, like, because it seems like the Trump Elon stuff is such like a wave of attention that even if that thing did seem like it was going to get some traction, as the new, what was that Idaho murder that turned out to not be real? The one from 20 years ago. What's the guy's name? The dude who got murdered in Idaho, and it turned out to be a drug deal. Only most of the left didn't know that it was a drug deal.
I thought that was Wyoming.
Matthew Shepard. I thought Wyoming.
Matthew Shepard? Oh, I thought that was Utah. I didn't know it was Wyoming.
Wyoming. So we all thought it was each other for a minute.
No, they still try to say Matthew Shepard was a hate crime.
Yeah.
What, a gay man killing a gay man? Your cock wasn't good enough.
So one thing is clear with the Jonathan Joss thing, though, is like it seems pretty obvious that the guy was having some kind of mental issues.
Oh yeah.
No, well, he was engaging in high risk behavior.
Some people say
called on like 60 times the cops like across the year.
Some people are suggesting drugs. Who knows? But yeah, there's something up with the guy for sure.
And he blew up his house from propane and propane accessories.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. The husband claimed that the house was burned by homophobes in a homophobic homo attack.
After he'd already admitted,
he's quoted in the newspaper saying like, I made a mistake. I left the house with the propane burner on, a barbecue one, and that's because like that's the other thing is like apparently the house wasn't even his. It had been condemned. It was declared unlivable, so they cut off all of the utilities. I don't know, but everything about that story, of the way that the husband tells the story, like it's so on.
I picture her in my head every time somebody says the husband. I get the picture in my head of like imagine being a reporter having to report on this and be like, yeah, this is his husband, and you're like, wait, do I really have to call that obvious woman his husband? Yeah, it'd be pretty shitty not to, because then you're fucking with his gender identity.
No, we become accomplices in the murder if we don't say husband.
Yeah, it's part of the hate crime.
Yeah, no, we could be called to testify if we do that.
Yeah, that whole thing was wacky, but I bet you if this Elon Trump thing didn't blow up, it would have. It seemed like it was getting a bunch of traction, and they were really going to roll with it. But it's nowadays stuff can get like blown out of the water by like a new story.
Yeah.
That one was going to be even more difficult than George Floyd to sell, though. I guess George Floyd actually wasn't very difficult to sell. It should have been, but it wasn't. But this one, there's just so much surrounding this.
But the Trump Elon thing, like it's so weird. Like that's another thing. It's almost too weird. Like like
it feels like kayfabe. It really does feel like kayfabe.
Like,
no, I know.
It's
as soon as I leave this thing, we'll have a fight so that all the granolas who buy my cars will start buying them again. They'll feel I'm okay.
Yeah, like I almost expect that, like in 3 days, them to like be like, "Haha, I got you guys."
No, or it could be stuff like there was all this talk and this energy on the left from like getting him for hearings for all of his special interests or what do you call it, conflicts of interest. But now, if supposedly he's fighting and they're fighting because he didn't get his paid for the bill, well, now maybe there won't be hearings for conflicts of interest or stuff like that.
Well, it's really weird because I mean it's been a while since I've looked into the Epstein stuff, but the last time I remember looking into it, I remember, and I looked into this with like if Trump is on the Epstein list, fucking wood chipper, sure, but like the more you read about it, the more you're like, I think his last contact with Epstein was in the mid 90s when he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago for hitting on an underage girl. And then like before that, they had some, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, it's been a while, they had some investigation at Epstein and they had to subpoena every single witness to come and testify except Trump. Like he was the only witness that didn't have to get a subpoena. Like he fully cooperated. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
Roger Stone
jump
had
into
like
it
a
again.
whole book about it and all this sorts of stuff that he wasn't
Really?
interested in. That like some different girls had given some sort of testimony that had exonerated him that he wasn't actually at those places and hadn't hit on them or something like that.
Well, yeah, and this is a real easy answer.
And he had kicked Epstein. He had kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for hitting on some women. At some point and
so I don't know. It feels like Elon Musk is, if it's not kayfabe, he's like just reaching for anything. Like he's just lashing out. He doesn't know this and he's throwing it because it makes him look like an asshole too. Like if he knew about this and
why were you working with him? Why didn't you say something?
I know you're like working with this guy who you know is a pedophile, and the second he pisses you specifically off through getting rid of the subsidies on your EVs, you suddenly just say, yeah, he's a pedophile, and I've known all along. Like, hold on a second, buddy. You waited until now.
Saw some people point out and claim too that like there's no way he technically like had access to that sort of stuff.
Oh no, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. It feels
somebody else told him or something like that.
It feels more accusatory than anything. So if there's no weird kayfabe shit going on, there's nothing weird behind the scenes. If that's the case, then I really think that's just him reaching and saying, I'm pretty sure, and hoping that his clout of being in Doge will kind of carry people to believe that he was privy to that knowledge. But he wouldn't have been privy to that knowledge.
Or says maybe he just found out and that's the catalyst, which I guess that could be the case too. Then some people said the reason Elon had a black eye was supposedly he hit on Steve Miller's wife and Trump's backing Steve Miller, which is some rumor floating around out there too. But
I don't think that's true. I like that. Trump doesn't give a fuck what you do with your wife.
It feels like kayfabe, and we aren't in the writer's room. That's what it feels like. But it all just could be like some great big fight that's real, and they're just really testy, big ego people. But like, how did they make it for 130 days? And the second he's out of there, now they're at each other's throats. If
it's not kayfabe, it's just Elon doing anything he can to kill this bill.
Yeah, and it could just be that too, that he just thinks that bill's just going to tank the whole entire country, which he does have some quotes that would back that up.
No, I'm with him to some degree. Like I think it should just. I hate big bills.
Well, they're talking about creating like a whole third party out of this. Like, which way would you go, Western man, if they did create like a whole third party? Because I think I would. There's weird stuff about Elon, but I would tend towards Elon myself.
Elon's personal life is dog shit. Like I'm a pro-natalist, basically. I'm like trying to convince the people at work to have more babies. It kind of jokingly, but kind of not jokingly. But like the the Elon style of having more kids, that's morally fucked up. I don't like it. That's the thing I don't like about him. I like his ideas with Doge. I wish they would have worked out better, but
There's other weird stuff about him, like the stuff Thunderfoot covers, that like a bunch of his money was always kind of strangely acquired,
Really, I haven't listened to the Thunderfoot stuff on him.
Well, I mean, he has like a lot of different things. Like for as many things that he has that has worked, he has as many things that he promised would work that didn't work, and got a lot of money for them and that sort of deal. But like some of those like underground tunneling things in his candy shop, and you remember like he had like that flamethrower and those sorts of things.
Oh yeah,
the Boring Company, yeah.
This I made this like which way Western man, because like I love.
Oh, that was you.
I saw. Yeah, I made that. Jackson Washburn saying like, "Which horse do you pick? Which horse do you pick?" But I love like how like Jackson Washburn and Jim Bennett might come to us like, "See, we told you these guys were crazy and they're nuts." Like, yeah, they're crazy and they're nuts and they're weirdos and they're still better than what you guys.
Yeah, we never said they weren't weirdos.
Yeah, I didn't realize you made that.
Yeah,
I thought that. No, that was perfect.
Yeah, I just said, which horse are you picking? And that's just what it feels like right there. But at the same time,
the only real horse is retarded.
Yeah, that horse is retarded and it might diddle kids. But one of the weird things about the Democrat people over there is they're always like just astonished that you don't have the decency to pick their diddlers over your possible diddler. Like, how do you not have the decency?
Oh yeah, I mean the Biden rape accusation is definitely more credible than the Trump one.
And before that, we had Clinton. Like everybody who ran against Trump ever had credible diddling stuff as credible as Trump's diddling, all across the board there. So stop acting like it's. How did you not have the decency to just choose this? But beyond that too, it's beyond like that. All those people are terrible people. We're ultimately only choosing between what we think is going to affect us, because I just feel they'll all fry in hell if that exists. I'm back to religious again, just for wanting hell for them.
We're just trying to decide which child rapist can make eggs cheaper.
Which child rapist can make eggs cheaper? We're not parsing out whose rape was worse than whose rape. No, Maiden, we're not discounting those rapes. We hate those rapes, and if we caught them doing actual rapes, we would stab them in the ear with a pitchfork in Minecraft. Or can you just even say that? I would stab a rapist if I caught a rapist.
Well, no, I mentioned it. I mentioned it last stream, like that the liberal guy at work was trying. He was like trying to confound my dad by saying, "You don't want the Epstein list revealed because it might implicate your dude Trump." Because my dad, he's a Republican, always has been, always votes right, and like my dad, pretty normie when it comes to politics. Just like says the most obvious thing ever. He's like, "But if Trump was on the list, I'd want to know." And like that totally shuts down the conversation, because
if Trump's on that list, fry him, jail.
Yeah.
If
put a bullet in his head. If he raped a bunch of kids and Epstein Island, yeah, fucking kill him. I don't care.
If Clinton's on that list, jail. Yes, jail. You know what? I don't know if Elon has any sort of like claims like that. His claims are that he artificially inseminated all the different women anyway. So
yeah, no, I think Elon's fucked too in his personal morals. But just like I think Glenn Greenwald is fucked in his personal morals. Like buying prostitutes and carrying out a humiliation kink with them on camera with a bunch of meth pipes around. Yeah, that's fucked. But also, Glenn Greenwald is like the best journalist ever. Like he's completely honest, and
yeah, I mean that's my standard for what I care about, what a journalist is saying to me or for me. But and that actually kind of blew my mind how many different people who I didn't think would think like that thought that like throw him out because he does dirty stuff at home, But I get Matt Walsh going after him because Matt Walsh was called a degenerate by him. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
punching back, you can. I get that, but anybody else who's just like, well, now the stuff he says is not true because he uses a prostitute.
Yeah, that's Matt Walsh is one of those guys who like he's way too authoritarian for my taste, but like a lot of his takes I will agree with. And also if he had a crazy sex scandal, I would legitimately be shocked.
Yeah, no,
like if Elon Musk or Trump has a crazy sex scandal, I'm not shocked at all. But if Matt Walsh did, I'd be like, well, Matt, fuck, I couldn't see that.
Yeah, I am of the belief that Trump was sex pesty, but sex pesty in the 80s, the 80s CEO type stuff, that it was probably maybe pushed himself a little hard on some women sometimes, but it was all ultimately consensual. And if any of the scenarios, because I have to think that, because if I don't think that, I do think that he's a rapist. And if I think he's a rapist, jail. You know what I mean? And
yeah, no, that's the thing is with Trump, it's like I don't know. I'm just like, if you are what they say you are, then fuck you. If you are on the Epstein list, then fuck you. And it's difficult because also,
but if you're a skeezy dude
if
who
I
does
am
skeezy, nasty stuff with girls, but it's ultimately consensual, know plenty of ex-Mormons who fit that bill.
Yeah.
Natasha Helfer's cheering along.
Yeah, for sure. When I think of that, I'm like, I really, really hope that I would have the fortitude if I had the wealth of Elon Musk. I really hope I would have the fortitude to never cheat on my wife, to be faithful to her and only her forever, not artificially inseminate people with my genius sperm or whatever. But I don't know. It's difficult to say because I don't have that power.
Here's a moral question for you. What if I did Elon Musk procreation, whereas if I already have a significant other, but I never got to procreate, but I had billions and billions of dollars, and said, well, how about I pay somebody to do the artificial inseminations? Do you think
that's rough. I don't like it. I definitely don't like it on like a deontological level. But then on your consequentialist level, I'm like, but more crisp brain people in the world, I would like that. Like I would like somebody with the scruples to be a bodybuilder.
I 100%. I sometimes think about if my ex-wife and I had kids right now. I really worry about if it would have gone as well as it went for Flip. You know what I mean? Like I really worry about it.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know.
I would have been estranged too.
I say I'm pro-natalist, but also there's people at work who I don't encourage. Like there's a couple dudes that, for whatever reason, the industrial hygienists in our group, they're always really even-keeled, really easy to get along with, active Mormon dudes. And those are the guys when I'm like, how old's your youngest? They'll be like, oh, he's 10 months old now. I'll be like, oh, time to have another one. And it's like a half joke, but they know it's a half joke. That's sort of the thing though. When I'm the half joke that I grew up with was, oh, never have kids. I knew they were half joking, but it still was a half joke. They were telling me that it's miserable having kids and stuff like that. So if there's a half joke floating out there in my workspace, I would like for it to be the half joke of, yeah, have more kids. And like they know that I'm like, yeah, it's absurd to have another kid, like with an 8-month-old baby and stuff. That's absurd, obviously, but also I'm not totally joking. Like you're a put together guy. You do young men's. You're really good at your job. Everybody likes you. You're the kind of guy that should reproduce more. So it is a half joke. But if you were to have another kid right now, I'd be like, fucking awesome. And I don't tell that half joke to everybody. I'm very discriminatory in who I say that to.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know with all these guys. I still just think it's so funny. Like after all of that, the Democrats still have nothing on their bench. Like you've got nothing you can put up against this. Like I honestly, like, genuinely think after all these years, people are so confused about Trump. Like, how did the Trump thing happen? I'm genuinely confused that they failed so hard at just finding anything even average enough.
Well,
just
and I'm also
the news that's coming out. They spent $20 million to figure out how to talk to men, and it's like I guarantee that like 5,000 of those dollars just went to 10,000 mavens. Like,
no, they did. Did you see that? That was
help
not
us talk to men.
The fat Latina lady who's like,
this
I can talk to men.
It's not a joke. It's not a joke. They got a fat Latinx lesbian to come. Let me see if where'd it go? Here it is.
Elizabeth, the problem with the Democratic Party is we've hated men for so long we forgot how to relate to them. Well, if men weren't such dumb pigs, it wouldn't be so hard. You're absolutely right. Men are naturally racist, homophobic, and misogynist. It doesn't help that they're influenced by Joe Rogan. That's why we spent millions of dollars finding our own Joe Rogan so we can communicate with male voters again. Olivia, come in. This is Olivia Julie.
This is real. This is real. This isn't just the South Park joke. That's really like they show a picture of the actual girl and they had her come up and talk on stuff. They literally picked this gal who is a lesbian, Latinx, whatever, to be the voice for men.
Juliana. She's a plus-size queer Latina feminist. I guarantee nobody understands men better than she does. My God, she's perfect. Just by looking at her, I can tell she's at least 3 times more man than anyone else. And she can definitely speak their language. Oh yes, she understands men very well. Go ahead, Olivia. Show Elizabeth. Hang on. Me need catch breath. Standing lots of exercise. Men like female utter. Men no want cut off balls. Wow, it's as if I'm talking to a man right now. I suppose this means we'll have to fire other representatives of masculinity. You mean Harry Sisson and David Hogg. I hate to say it, but you're right. If you weigh the options, David and Harry aren't nearly as masculine. Alright, I'll go tell them the bad news. Hi, boys. Ooh, it's Elizabeth Warren.
That's her. That's the picture of her up there. That's legitimately her. And if you go and like listen to him like talking about it, like she says stuff like, I'm here to talk about men.
Yeah. Ooh, it's so good to see you, Elizabeth. There's no easy way to say this, but you two aren't the masculine authorities we thought you were. Ooh, but I'm 95 pounds of pure man. That's a great point, David. Unfortunately, we found 500 pounds of pure man. See for yourself. Come here, Olivia. Show David and Harry what you showed me. Me need rest. Man want hot dog. Man want sit in Macy's and eat standing up. Elizabeth, the problem is that they're influenced by Joe.
Find her. What was her name? It's Olivia. They said the name.
Why we spent millions of dollars finding again. Olivia, come in.
Here it is.
This is Olivia Juliana. She's a plus.
Olivia Juliana. Let's see here. Oh my goodness gracious.
They're so bad at this.
But how, like, it really is like this whole entire 12 years of the Trump phenomenon. It's just unbelievable that they just couldn't have put up. I mean, just think of like Bill Clinton, half the personality. Like, how did you guys not just have somebody like that this whole entire time, just to put him up and just obliterate him because it's just a guy? You know what I mean? Like, how? You know, Olivia Juliana. Oh my gosh.
So this is men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men; it's over, right?
What a weird thing to say. She has been elected as the champion to change young men's viewpoints and to get young men to come back to the Democratic Party.
The reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men; it's over, right? Like, what are you talking about? Like a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What is going on? Like there's
well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men.
This is legitimately some of what they spent that $20 million on. Like, it really is.
It's just the greatest test. Joe Rogan should use this as an ad for himself. You just lent so much credibility to Joe Rogan by doing, because the dude, it's, the point has been belabored by now, but Joe Rogan is not far right. He's not even right. I hate saying that because it sounds cliche at this point, but my God, the guy was a Bernie bro. He had Bernie on. He's had senators on. Honestly, I think if Kamala Harris went on to his program, I think, I'm rare for saying this, but I think it would have been good for her, because I think mostly he would have just humanized her. Of course, she would have had her talking points, and she can't really be human. But I think he would have drawn out the human in her. And Joe Rogan of the left implies that Joe Rogan is currently on the right, and he's just not. He's like, yeah, I guess I'll vote Trump. Like that was his It was very tepid, and it was just like, these people are crazy. I'll vote for this guy.
It's just endlessly mind-boggling to me how they just didn't blow him out of the water, not because everybody's like, I can't believe Trump won. It's like, how did you guys just not put up just the most plain person in the world and just obliterate him? Like, how did you guys have to choose retarded ideas to go against them? Like, why? It just seems like it was just all laid out on a platform, and still the Republicans are looking like absolute cornballs right now, and there is nothing on the bench for Democrats.
This is your moment, guys. This is your moment. Like, the two biggest MAGA guys right now are going through a feud where one of them's calling the other a pedophile. Like,
they're talking about forming a third party and could divide it up, like, right in the middle of it.
How do you not have like a round in the chamber for this shit?
Like Jon Stewart. Like, if they just had like Jon Stewart run, it'd be over. Like, it'd be over. And they just can't do it. Like, I don't get it, man. But what's you gonna do? You can't save them from how? Like, how did they get like that far that they just don't, like, they're that out of it? Like, honestly, like, really, it hurts my brain. It really does.
That's kind of the funny thing, is that, like, I don't know, so the lefty guy at work, he was asking me, like, how, he's like, what do you think Kamala went wrong? And I was like, dude, it'd be easier to tell you where she went right, man. Yeah. Like, she didn't use most.
Mom, she can't talk. She's weird.
Yeah, she's
drunk.
She's terrible.
But you also placed her in without a vote with 90 days to go or less.
Well, and she also pretended that, like, she wasn't married to these woke positions. That we have her on camera as early as like 4 years ago, or even some of them like 6 months ago, totally glomming onto, and there was nothing you could have done. You need somebody who's always been reasonable, and you don't have them, because they've all left. Like, Tulsi Gabbard was on your side. She left because she's always been somewhat reasonable on certain circumstances, and they're just gone now.
Yeah, I feel like they could have had like John Livingston from Office Space just be like, well, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy, and that would have won.
They
like,
could have had John McWhorter,
who was just like played like that normal. Like,
get John McWhorter. Like, I would say that I love what he says. I love how he says it. I would say that he's probably somewhat Trump deranged. Yeah. But even with the Trump derangement, he's a reasonable man for the most part. We can't all be reasonable on everything, but he's mostly reasonable. Why don't you listen to him ever?
No, I mean, they ostracize him. They throw them out for not being pure enough. I don't know. I don't get it. But at the same time, too, it's kind of wild how much the Republicans and the right will nuke themselves too. It's pretty funny to watch because I don't know how this is going to shake up. Like I generally I kind of feel like in the thick of the early signs of something nuts going with Elon and Trump, and you're watching it and you go, I don't even know how this goes. Like I don't know how this goes. I mean, there's always like more to learn and more to find out later. Or like, oh, actually somebody said this and actually someone said that. But honestly, like this one's. I do agree with Elon that Trump wouldn't have won without him as far as getting him back on X and helping donate and then helping making it okay in some sort of sense for Silicon Valley types to support that, or even Joe Rogan to support that. I think all of that followed Elon. I really do.
Well, yeah. I mean, so they talk about the whole election interference shit, and I think there's no real way, I think, to know if voting machines were fucked with and all that shit that Trump definitely believes is true. But there is a thing that we do know is that they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story. And I mean, they had, what was it, 21 or 11, whatever, former intelligence agency
50.
personnel.
It was 50.
Was it 50?
Yeah.
It was 50 or 51 intelligence agency people claim that it's Russian disinformation, and that's at least worse than the Russiagate shit they promulgated.
Yeah.
So, and that's what they claimed as election interference. So if they can claim election interference with Russiagate, Trump can easily claim election interference with the Hunter Biden laptop shit. So
51 former intelligence officers.
Yeah, 51. Okay. That's insane.
Elon is from a fucked up family. His dad married his adopted daughter that he raised.
I actually heard. I think that's true. I heard that.
Well, like a Woody Allen type thing.
Yeah.
There's other weird stuff about Elon. There's weird stuff about the way he wants to like chip the brains and gets involved with the Palantir stuff and all that sorts of things. He's got some sorts of contracts with stuff that does want to kind of push towards CBDCs and some sort of like intelligence gathering agencies that a lot of people wouldn't be cool with if it was the Democrats doing it, you know. But then all at the same time, all that stuff too might just be the stuff that Silicon Valley people were doing all along. They were always just gathering our information from cell phones and always just gathering our details from how we act on X and how we act on Facebook.
Yeah, man, we're always just trying to choose between the least fucked up sex pest in the world.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, there's weird stuff like about that. And then as far as like the policies and the stuff goes, like Trump's tried to make some inroads on stuff that I just think, I mean, it's just so obvious. Like I still think like the DNC could have beaten them just for appealing to normies in some sort of way. They could have just ran with it, but they didn't do that. But there's a bunch of stuff that Trump has tried to do or even pushed out there that was worth and necessary to get done that I don't think anybody else could have gotten done or even attempted. But even all that stuff's getting blocked all to hell, so it doesn't matter anyway. But I don't know. I'm black-pilled. That's the honest truth. Like, I hate to say I'm black-pilled. I'm black-pilled. Like, what can they do? They can't beat the bureaucracy. They can't beat it unless they break it. And if they break it, and it's broken. You know.
I feel like I am black-pilled on geopolitics. Well, in politics, but I am white-pilled on interpersonal relationships. Listen to the people who are telling you that you can make your specific life better. Don't fucking listen to the people who tell you that you can change the world.
Yeah, I don't think there's any turning the train around to what the U.S. is. I think it's just got to flame out, however it flames out.
No, I mean, I think Flips pointed it out several times, or one of you two pointed out several times that, like, with immigration specifically, the Democrats fucked it so entirely that the only way to fix it is by violating what we now view as human rights.
Yeah, and how do you do that without breaking the whole thing anyway? But
Well, yeah,
wait,
you're
so
like,
where was the whole thing broke? They broke the whole thing.
yeah, you're like, I would love for everybody who has sort of an asylum claim or an immigration status to have their day in court. But when there's 40 million of them, you can't do that. You just
There's
gotta
40
like,
million of
and
them.
the way that you gotta rule it out is be like anyone with a face tattoo. Sorry, you don't get your day in court. Go back to El Salvador.
Well, you saw the one, the guy who just burned all the people in Boulder, Colorado, was here illegally, and his family was here illegally, and they tried to deport all of them. And they got stopped by a judge,
Which is insane because they're here illegally. Yeah, they didn't firebomb anyone like the guy did, but they're still here illegally. Like, oh, that's brought to our attention that they're here illegally, and now we can get rid of them. And some dumbass activist judge is like, oh yeah, no, you can't do that. Actually, you can't get rid of them for some reason.
It's so weird. It's so I don't know, man. It can't be beat.
I'm crashing out. Are we about done?
Nope, we've got to cover the
2 more hours?
entirety of Mormon stories. There was 4 episodes this week, 9 hours each, and I'm just getting to them now with clips. Ready?
Next week. I'm falling asleep.
Nope.
I still want to get to Natasha Helfer.
Yeah, we got to get to Natasha Helfer. And I do want to cover a little bit of Morgan and Marty, talking with them. But I mean, I guess it's good to have stuff going in the future, and then stuff drops like this, and I don't even know what to talk about with it. But...
I stopped playing Skyrim like an hour and a half ago. Great.
Oh my God, how did you stay awake?
I've been falling asleep. I've still got a big day tomorrow. Got to do lots of things. Still got to assemble.
Hey, what the hell's up with Sinatra? He's used the same name twice in a row now.
We're on to him. They're going to catch him. They're going to catch up.
Figure it out. Old gray eyes.
Well, off to another week of hand banana-ness. Being rape apologists.
Okay, rapists get a bad rap, but like, if you didn't have sex and if you didn't have power, wouldn't you kind of wanna, right? I'm glad Maven doesn't watch our shit, because obviously she would clip that and pretend that was my actual point of view.
I wonder what, like, if it didn't come from us, if like somehow we could sneak it into her life and get her reaction to Norm Macdonald's rape story from his memoir. Like,
Which one? Which one's that one?
Because it's a chapter from his book that based on a true story or whatever, and like because it's obviously fictionalized, but it's.
I thought the bad part was the rape, or
yeah, no, it's like he's in prison, and
his prison
there for a long
story.
time, and so he finds out on the first day. It's like, well, the way to survive in prison is you just gotta be the toughest guy, and you show that by raping another guy. It's just, it's fucking brilliant.
It is great.
Oh, Norm. A lot of people actually Justice Warrior was pointing out that the Young Turks totally did the Norm with that fire bomber in Boulder. They did the our biggest worry with this is what are people going to think about Palestinian protesters? Like, what about the people on fire? Like the worst thing about this is now they're going to think bad about Palestinian protesters. There's dead people.
Man, the NPR comment section is so fucking. I mean, it's amazing.
Insane. It's gotten worse.
I would think it was Nazis. Like, it's all Mossad. Mossad shot those 2 people in DC. Mossad firebombed these people. Israel actually killed. They found a couple of hostages' bodies. That was in the BBC today, or in the NPR. And the comments were that no, Israel actually killed them. It's just like they might as well be fucking Stormfront.
Well, yeah, there was a bunch of people saying that it was the Mossad who was doing the fire. Like that guy was Mossad.
No, it's all false flag.
those are the people who are involved in it, but the people who are the more normies come up with their own apologetics, and it's not that, oh, this was Messiah. It's that these people are advocating for a genocidal terror regime. So why do we feel bad for them? Like, whoa, buddy, hang on.
Yeah.
The two people that were shot were trying to get aid into Gaza.
Yeah.
So fuck you.
Of course, I already saw like all the things saying that Netanyahu put Elon up to this, and then Netanyahu also put Trump up to fighting back to Elon. I've seen both sides of it already. That it's Israel making both of them fight each other.
This shit goes so deep that I've seen people claim that Nick Fuentes is an Israeli agent, like, and that he's trying to make anti-Semitism look so dumb that that's a gamble right there.
Man, yeah, it's amazing. All right.
I saw Shapiro and Corolla play What Can't Adam Complain About, which is one of his better
He's
games.
so good at that.
He's so good at, and the very first one he said is like, how could you complain about a cool breeze on a hot day in California? And Corolla just comes firing out, because it's coming from a leaf blower from an immigrant. You know,
No, he's amazing at finding something wrong with anything.
Yeah. Well, alrighty.
Cool.
You ran along again. Flip, I'm meeting your kid on the Sunday still.
On the Sunday, that's the plan, assuming everything.
People don't know. I've known Flip for all these years. We're talking all about the Mormon expressions, all this stuff. I have never met Flip's kid.
Most people haven't, because he was kidnapped. That's how that works.
And you deserve it. And I watched all the girls drink your tears. Just drink them in teacups.
Well, you probably beat the shit out of her, I would assume. I don't respond because I'm pretty sure.
It's the only reason any woman ever takes somebody's kid is because he deserves it. It's never happened that a man can be a victim. Just does not happen.
Well, I'm glad your kid's coming up to hang out with you. That's fun.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. We're going to do lots of crazy stuff. Actually, not very much crazy stuff.
What's
He's
crazy
kind of
stuff?
a nerd.
It's going to be the Hangover Part 4.
Well, that's the thing is because, I told him, like before, I'm like, hey, what do you want to do? We can go anywhere. I've never been to New York City, for example. We can go to New York. He's like, I want to go to Las Vegas. I'm like, all right. Gonna find out why one night in Vegas is all the Vegas you'll ever need.
Maybe he'll dig it.
Yeah, no, I'll probably have fun.
So he plays poker. Although that would be my only advice. If he knows a little bit of poker, don't do it right on the strip, man. That's where people play like dingle dongles. Like you gotta drive over to one of the off strip places, and people play
tighter
poker and a little slower. But people on the strip are just like dumping hundreds of bucks into each hand, just waiting to see who wins by the river.
Mrs. Doodles apparently cleared $1,000 on a $200 buy-in.
Yeah, and that's just the answer. Is you just got to have stuff that's pretty good. You don't have to have great stuff because they're just going to fire off. So you don't have to wait to have 4 of a kind. You know what I mean? But you got to have something because they're just going to fire in, and then if you just call it down, you'll be good. But that's on the strip where they're just firing the money in. So.
Oh,
damn.
Okay,
cool.
everybody.
Next time.
Thanks for hanging.
Well, glad I helped in. I'll see you.